Oh, yeah. Damn, we're going after 1 o'clock.
If I did that, it's because I haven't used it. It's not contagious.
Okay. Alrighty, okay. I call to order the regular council meeting of March 6, 2024. Adoption of agenda 2.1, recommendation that the council adopts the agenda. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Woodall, thank you. Any discussion? All those in, oh, yes, Councillor Woodall?
Sorry, that comes
yeah, that's not till after. Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous and carried, thank you very much. Item number 3, adoption of the minutes. 3.1, recommendation that council adopts the minutes from the regular council meeting held on February 21st, 2024. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Wall, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Wall?
Just in my report, could we say that the Northwest Mount Police Station opened because of cattle rustling instead of?
Is it because of cattle? Sorry, I tried to listen to the tape a few times and I didn't get.
Oh, it's
yes,
they opened because of cattle rustling.
Because of cattle, okay.
Yeah. Not for cattle rustling. I don't think there was.
Okay, I'll change that. Because of cattle rustling.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes with that change?
I have one more thing.
Oh, yes, Councillor Wall.
These minutes, I really like the way they're presented. And there's like a little bit of context behind some of the decisions and things like that in there, like where some of the discussion is listed. I really like that. And I'm curious how everyone else is feeling about that, because if we're going forward, I think this will provide better context for why we have decided things that we've decided, if there's a little bit of context like that.
Was there somebody who different who wrote these up? Oh, it was oh.
When context is needed, context is put in, but context is not always required. Otherwise you're going into verbatim minutes.
I know, because verbatim, they tried verbatim once and it took like 20 hours or something insane. It was like nuts.
No, it took 20 days.
Oh, sorry, it took 20 days to do verbatim minutes.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I like that there is just, after each motion, just a little like sentence of what was discussed, and I just like it.
Like I said,
When you feel like the context is
needed, I put it in.
Okay.
I'll try.
Well,
thank you.
Yes, perfect. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of accepting the agenda with the change to the word because? Unanimous and carried. Okay, 4.1, introduction of late items. So 4.1, introducing late item 6.8, the 2024-2027 financial plan onto the agenda. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Woodall, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of accepting this as a late item? All those opposed?
I'm opposed as I have not had proper time to vet this document as it's been recently presented. I understand it purely for informational purposes, but
okay.
I haven't fully vetted this document.
Okay, would you like your opposed noted?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Okay. So, item number 5, unfinished business and businesses arising from the minutes. So 5.1 recommendation.
The council approves a letter of support with the City of Fort St. John.
Seconder? Councillor Johnston, thank you. Discussion? Councillor Wall?
I like to see that the changes that were talked about at the last meeting are in there, so I'm happy to see that.
Any other discussion? You know what, I hate paper agendas, so I can't find anything in them. Yep.
17.
It says 31 up here, and then it says 8 down here. So when I have multiple different page numbers, it's like the top is the one I'm going for. Thank you. That's why I want my laptop to work. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for the best in that. Okay. Any other discussion regarding that letter? No? Okay. Do you need a motion for us to, this is already sent out, okay? No. Do you need a motion put on the floor to send it out?
I just need you to approve.
Approve it, okay. So, all those in favor of approving the letter to Minister Farnsworth to be sent out? Okay. Unanimous and carried, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure it was covered under that. Okay, 5.2 recommendation.
The council approves a letter of support for the license plate program.
Can I get a seconder? Councillor Woodall, thank you. Discussion? Councillor Wall?
So it is my understanding, I know I just asked this question 2 minutes before the meeting, but I'm going to ask it again, just so the public is aware, that this is from my understanding, to support we support our troops' license plates in BC, similar to the programs Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba have.
Oh, looks good. Any other discussion? Okay, and same, you just need it approved to be sent out? Okay, all those in favor of accepting this letter to be sent out? Unanimous and carried, thank you very much. Okay, number 6, new business, 6.1 recommendation.
Recommend the council receives the development variance permit request for consideration.
Can I get a seconder? Councillor Woodall, thank you. I'm gonna recuse myself, so who takes over? Is it Councillor Johnson? Okay.
I would also like to recuse myself from this one, thank you.
All right. Have fun, no broke there.
We'll try.
Any discussion?
Yeah, so I'd like the fact that the person or the person that's asking for the variance, I like the fact that they have addressed some of our concerns from the last meeting. And some of the concerns that we had the first time this came up, so it's nice to see. Yeah, and from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Stokes, this is just basically the next step in this process, and from here it goes out to public consultation or it goes out to the public.
So what will happen is if council approves the DBP, our next step is to reach out to the neighboring properties in a 100-meter radius. So the ladies have kindly gotten me, I have a map with the 100-meter radius.
Yeah.
So I will be sending letters out to all these people. They have 10 days to respond. After the 10 days, if nobody's opposed, then we put it out, we submit another report to council with a summary of the variance permit, and if any issues were brought forward to us, if no issues are brought forward to us, then we put it to council for final consideration. Okay? And then after that, there's a prep of the development variance permit, issuance of the permit, and filing with land titles. So basically, I just need to know the council.
At what stage in the process would the building inspector be consulted to ensure that there's no future infringement on utility services?
Every step of the way.
Okay, so it's a constant
He
piece
still
of the
has to get
process.
building permits and stuff, and building inspector will be part of all of that.
Okay, so in response to that, then if we become aware of some other issue, we'll navigate that, but at this
Yeah.
time,
At
we're
this
unaware
time,
of
there's nothing.
future infringement on infrastructure development
No,
at
and
the front
building-
setback.
We have spoken to the building inspector regarding the last, setback issue, and he doesn't have a problem with it. He says it's not a big issue.
I'm very, very thankful. I appreciate that these folks have taken this back and that they've, assembled pieces and taken the suggestions, and I really do appreciate that, honestly. So it sounds like essentially what this has become is purely just a front setback variance. Am I correct in that understanding?
Yes.
So there's no more side setback, there's no more area coverage, all of that has been taken care of because
Just the
it's
front area.
just purely the
to
front
road.
setback.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion?
The biggest concern was fire, but if there's no development on the lot next door because of potential or current amalgamation, then that's been resolved.
And there's no other future infrastructure that this time we can see it's gonna be impacted, so that alleviates a big chunk of my concerns I had last time, so. Yeah. So I'll make the recommendation, that council receive the development variance permit, request, and that we approve it.
Okay.
You
All in
second it?
favor?
I seconded it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, here, move on to the next stage.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you, bye guys. be recommended. Okay, where were we?
Page 34.
Okay. 6.2 recommendation that council receive the package on Mudfest from the Peace River Regional District as information, and that council advises if they wish to offer a letter of support for Mudfest to be sent to the organizers. Seconded by Councillor Whittle, thank
We'll
you.
have that for information and discussion.
Can we get that for information and discussion? Well, it goes into discussion anyway.
Yeah, but it says information.
Are we gonna get rid of, like, I don't think it's the same as the PRD, but I feel like really crazy.
I just, when you guys get to it, I'll just ask for a
Yeah.
separate motion for the letter of support.
No.
Okay, any discussion? Councillor Rabble?
These folks seem to have a wonderful, a very clear understanding of the expectations of hosting such a large event in regards to liability, security, safety, overconsumption of alcohol, emergency responses. It seems like they've got a lot going. That's really awesome, and I love to see that. They came in with a plan. It appears to be really, really well thought out. I'm just curious about the village's liability of sending a letter of support. Is that seen as an endorsement, what's our liability for sending out a letter of support, essentially, is my curiosity in the situation. I believe it's a great event that will certainly promote tourism and attract people to the Peace, get people here, a lot of wonderful entertainment, very interesting things, but this is a very high-risk event. That's interesting, and they're taking appropriate precautions, but there is certainly the risk that somebody may become injured.
So your concern is that if we write a letter of support, we could potentially be taking on some form of liability by supporting a high-risk event happening in the area?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Ms. Stokes? You're not to mine.
It's located in the PRD,
Yeah.
and it's far enough out. Basically, they're just asking for a letter of support that, I guess, would you want it? Yeah.
My understanding is that the letter of support from the surrounding, communities, because it is technically being done it says in the Pooskapee area, right? Is that it'll make it so they have more access to grants. So if they get letters of support, which we often see at other board tables, that helps people apply for grants. And so it's my understanding that that's why they're looking for a letter of support. Councillor Walt?
I am very much in favor of providing the letter of support because we don't often see these really, really big events happening in such a small place like ours.
Yeah.
Annual event.
And an annual event, if they come back every year, this could be a lot of revenue for our businesses and bring a lot of tourism to Pooskapee. And I'm really looking forward to see that. I don't think we have anything to lose by saying we want it.
Okay, anybody like to put, Councillor Rabble?
My last question would be, has the Pooskapee Fire Hall or the fire chief been consulted to ensure that we have the capacity to assist if there was an emergency at this event? I understand they have some on-site personnel regarding paramedics and emergency personnel and whatnot, but we would be the closest fire department to this address. And I'm just curious if that we have that capacity. I understand that we can draw from other areas, other municipalities, but that's my only question, is that if we're called on to act, that we have the capacity to do so.
Ms. Stokes?
They're not in our boundaries.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, they're not, and
They're not
then
in our fire boundaries.
that would go into our, would that then bump into our user agreement with Area D? Yeah, because this is happening in September, right? Well, yeah, the September long weekend. My hope is that by that point in time, the fire season would have calmed down. Yes, knocking on wood. Yeah, at that point, we don't have that question. If council is interested in putting off a letter of support till you find out that information, that's something that you could look at doing. Or we could still move forward with the letter of support, but then find out from that information afterwards. My goodness, speaking is hard for me today. Councillor Whittle.
Was Mudfest on a bit of a time crunch for getting that letter of support from the municipality for their licensing and all that?
I think they needed it by June.
No, they're actually asking for it now because they're applying for grants. That's all they want to do.
Oh, yes.
So
It'll help with the grants then, yeah. Councillor Rattle?
I'm certainly in favor of this. I want to see fun things coming to the region. I want to see, you know, things that attract folks and that bring people out and have some fun, but, you know, making sure that there's precautions in place if something goes wrong. So I believe that we most likely do have the capacity, but I can't speak for the fire department, of course.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna put the motion on the floor that, the council provide a letter of support to the Mudfest organizers, supporting the Mudfest event that they're putting on. Can I get a seconder on that motion? Councilor Wall, thank you. Yeah, I think I understand the need for that letter to apply for grants, and I can never predict the future. Yeah,
Okay.
we can't really predict the future, but I'm pretty hopeful. Like, I'm almost positive that we have the capacity between Dawson Creek, Pooskoopi, and Tom's Lake, seeing as all three of those often work together, right? And so I would be surprised if we didn't have the capacity for it, but I do definitely understand your concern, but I would hate to hold up on this letter, so. Councillor Whittle?
Yeah, and with the organization like this caliber that's put on these events before, I'd imagine that they have some element of fire suppression on site, or the crews that are running vehicles that run those risks do. Like, I know we've done mud bogs and indoor races and stuff in the past, and that was a consideration that was built into a lot of stuff, right? Then if like, it's one of those things, if God forbid something happens and it spreads into wildland area, then that becomes a BC wildfire issue, right? And that's way out of our.
That's a total different kettle of fish. Yes.
So.
Councillor Wall?
After bringing that up, Councilor Wilder, you're right, I do have a small concern with it that I would like to make known, is that they are outside of fire protection. So if something were to happen, they are outside of our boundary. So.
Yeah, I'm not 100% positive, but with our user agreement with Area D, I'm pretty positive that area is covered under that user agreement. Councillor Whittle?
So I do support the letter of support, like I do like the idea of the letter of support going forward, and that I'm gonna support, but can we also ask staff to reach out just to flush out that side of things a little bit more on that fire suppression, because it's not gonna waver if we're gonna support it or not. I think we're pretty much all on the same page that we support this idea. It's great for the organization. It'd be nice just to flush out the fire suppression side a little bit more with the risk in the area.
You know what, actually, because staff is gonna draft the letter of support, they're gonna have to bring the letter of support back to us for approval. So by that point in time, we'll have that answer. So I think really we could go forward with the staff drafting it, and then by the time it comes to approving the letter actually going out, we would probably have the information that you guys are looking for.
I have a future question for staff.
Okay.
So maybe it's a question now, and I know staff will not have the answer.
Okay.
So when the letter comes back, if it's approved, is there a possibility of temporarily extending a fire boundary to include, because they are one property outside of our fire protection?
Ooh, that's a big question, yeah. Okay,
I would feel safer.
yeah, maybe make a note of that, but Councillor Whittle?
The other thing to check with that along those same lines is I do believe that there's a provision in there for the discretion of the fire chief if it's outside of our fire protection area, because I know in the past, and we'd have to look into see what current regulations are, but I know in the past the fire department has responded to wildland fires and fires of, you know, substantial value on the other side on that back area. Like as far back as when I was with the fire department back in 2015, we responded to wildland fires and bale fires back in that area. So the fire department is familiar with the area, but it would just be something to again flush out with everything else. Just cross our I's and dot our T's.
Okay, Councillor Rattle?
And that's what I'm thinking is, because fire can spread and, you know, hopefully, heaven forbid that anything happens, but basically, you know, on-site medical, on-site evacuation pieces, that is all a very on-site task. Whereas if there's the need for fire suppression with water tanks, I don't expect that they'll have like 3 water tanks just sitting there ready to go. So anyways, I think it's something to consider, but I'm still very in support of this event happening because I think it'll bring a lot of prosperity to the region.
Okay, so I'm gonna call the question then. All those in favor of sending a letter of support to the organizers of Mudfest? Okay, unanimous and carried. Do you need a vote to receive this for information? You're all good? Okay, wonderful, thank you.
I think we made that motion twice.
I know, multiple times. Okay, 6.3 recommendation.
That council receives the Pouce Coupe strategic plan for discussion.
Can I get a seconder? Councillor Whittle, thank you. Okay, discussion, Councillor Wong.
So, going through the strategic plan, recently Dawson Creek updated their strategic plan, and it does include, and there's been a lot of work on their end, and it is something I campaigned on as well, was a walking or cycling connection between Pouce Coupe and Dawson Creek. And that is now in Dawson Creek's strategic plan. And I'm curious how difficult it would be to add that into our plan as well.
Staff?
I was under the impression it was there already.
Oh, I think Councillor Whittle found it, and
It says support transportation methods that connect neighborhoods with surrounding areas. There is a section here that says there is transportation infrastructure that helps our community to get where it needs to go, bypass walking trails and transit options.
Yes.
That I don't think that is specific enough, and I would like it to say, we support creating new trail networks and all of that stuff, but also specifically say that we want a connection with the city of Dawson Creek.
are you looking to add in the same wording that Dawson Creek added into theirs, but reverse? Is that what you're kind of looking for, to be more, like, to narrow it down more specifically?
They have a plan to connect Pouce Coupe within their trail network. I would like to kind of, say,
Yes,
we would like
same.
our trail network to
Right,
be connected
connected.
with Dawson Creek's.
We don't have a trail network.
No, but it's not a plan to build one.
I know,
Kinda do.
yeah, kinda, sorta. Okay, so you're basically looking to have that same supportive wording just in the reverse for,
Yeah, I like what's there.
yes,
I
but
just-
adding that
Yeah.
in. Okay, staff, would that be an issue if I guess this is basically the draft, so this is the time to kind of make that note. Do you need, a motion? Councillor, no, before you make the motion, Councillor Rabble, is your question referring to what Councillor Wall's talking about? Okay, then Councillor Wall, would you like to make a motion regarding that?
I make the motion that we update, in our strategic plan update, we add a portion that includes a walking and biking path to or from Dawson Creek.
Yeah, and then, just maybe reference you'd like to use,
Using similar wording to that of Dawson Creek's strategic plan.
there we go, thank you. Can I get a seconder on that motion? Councillor Johnston, thank
You
you.
made me think of that on the spot.
I know, sorry. Sorry. Any discussion regarding the motion that Councillor Wall just made? Yes, Councillor Whittle?
Yeah, so just for clarification, you just wanted to kind of in those spots, there on page 55 for you guys, where it talks about supporting infrastructure and stuff, you just want that kind of flushed out a little bit more to kind of mimic what Dawson's doing?
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
Alright, I just wanted clarification on that.
Like one more sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we currently have that. And now, the other thing, I guess, if we're gonna do that too, is, under the terms for that, currently we have that identified as a 3 to 5 year term, again, I imagine depending on grant availability and funding.
And Dawson Creek's plans.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
would that potentially affect the, planning stage of that?
Mister?
Okay, first question. You want it added under strategic objectives on page 55 under transportation area, or
Now I'm on the wrong page.
page 55?
Yeah.
planning?
Councillor Whittle
So
was
you
on.
want it where there's transportation methods that connect neighborhoods, and add another line stating about the trail biking.
Walking, cycling, something
Okay,
like
I just
walking,
need-
cycling path to Dawson Creek.
I just need to know where it has to be. Okay, and then on page 56, under the action plan, under medium term, 3 to 5 years?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I need.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Any other discussion on Councillor Wall's motion? All those in favor? Unanimous and carried. Councillor Rebel, you had a question regarding our first motion?
Well, essentially, in regards to this strategic plan, are we talking, well, we're talking short, medium, and long, so I'm assuming this is to 2027 or 2029, something to line up with,
It's like 40 years, it's like 2047.
it's just an update to the strategic, like our strategic vision, okay. And so, just for the public's consideration, this fits in with our official community plan because we're attempting, as the corporation of the village of Pouce Coupe, to not operationalize, but to bring it into our governance model of council as a body, like this is the guiding document for council and staff. Like, where does this fit into the mishmash of the OCP, strategic plan, and then operationalization of all these plans?
Yeah, so all those documents sort of feed off of each other, and these are our guiding principles when it comes to our budget. So when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to, you know, projects, capital projects, this is our guiding document that guides us in making those decisions. Does that answer your question? Yes. Councillor Wall?
I have one more comment about here, something that I would like to see.
Which page are you on?
I'm on page 56.
Ah, thank you.
In the second part, there says improve stormwater system and reinforce the riverbank. I would like that to also say, even if we could put it in a long-term plan, because this is a 50-year plan, right? Like, we're looking decades away. If we could phase out our ditch system over, even if it's a 20-year project and it starts in 10 years, just having something on paper, because we have problems with flooding. Every spring, basements flood, the roads flood, and this could be a really, and we do have that stormwater study that was done, and it is one of the things that's in that study that it does recommend. Now, it is very costly. I will admit that it is very costly.
Millions.
Millions, it's millions. We can't afford to do it in one go, but I think if we did one road a year for 15 years, right, it would really make a big difference.
Was that identified? Oh, Miss Stokes. Look at you, you're just like, my arm's getting tired. I need to rest. I need to rest it here.
Well, it's been a discussion before. It has never been formally brought up in council meetings. So your first step is to have a study done before you put something like that on your strat plan.
And I guess my other concern with that is,
It was on the
that,
council signs. It said ditch the ditches.
is that something that was identified when we did the community engagement projects? Because that's the other thing, right? Is this is very.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that being a want of the community either, because it's very community guided, right? So this goes off of what the community wanted, and that wasn't something that was identified by the community members. I'm just letting you know.
Could we?
Are you about to ask for another, like, go out and study thing?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh my. Yes, Councillor Wall.
I know it's not necessarily 100%. I would like it in the strat plan at some point, or part of some sort of plan going along here, because our ditches cost a lot of money to maintain year on year, and in the long run, it'll be more expensive to keep the ditches. But if we could add it to the village as a questionnaire in the village voice and see if anybody responds to it, that would maybe be, because then it's not like a survey, it's just seeing if people actually are agreeable, or if people say, hey, I hate it, then,
Well,
you know.
the only issue that is, it is kind of a survey, because with our water study that we already had done, and we did look into doing curb and gutter before, and I think it was around 27 million, somewhere around there.
Doesn't necessarily be curb
When-
and gutter either,
Well, it was curb and gutter at the time when they did the study on that about 2 years ago. Is that correct?
That was more than 2 years ago.
Oh,
That
was it?
Yeah, 2017.
2017, okay. So we would need to pull that information and include that within the questionnaire in the Village Voice for transparency. So you would almost have staff sort of creating a bit of a survey out of left field. I'm thinking out loud. Ms. Stokes.
Let me take this back to urban systems
Okay.
and come back with an answer. We're not doing anything with this, this is for discussion. So let me see what would be involved in, see if it's just as simple as putting a line that says down the road looking into switching from ditches to curb and gutter, or is it, let me check with urban, please.
I think the only concern about that is I would, yeah, definitely want the community to have their voice on that, because that's a lot of money.
It might even need to be a referendum if it ever came to it.
Yeah. Councillor Ravel? Thank you for waiting.
So with the action plan, essentially, you know, there's improved stormwater system. So in the stormwater overland flood risk study that was done a few years ago, it was identified that there are some spots that are at risk to flooding during rain events, which are becoming more and more frequent. And then this also fits into climate rigidity and weather patterns and all these different pieces that we're going to have to acknowledge anyways and move forward on. But it sounds like Councillor Wall is asking for more of a long-term, full implemented vision, where what we've currently got proposed here is more of a as need be, fix the pipe where it's leaking it versus why not fix the actual plumbing system. And I get that it's expensive. It is something that we could take under consideration in the future. It has been identified as a need, but then we are, it's a huge capital expense at the same time, but it's about the future sustainability of the community to deal with torrential rains and downpours, which will become more and more frequent.
So yes and no. So in that study where they talked about like the flooding issues that we were having, one of the major recommendations that was identified is that some of our culverts are smaller than they should be, and updating our culvert to the regulation size would then assist in some of that water issue that we're having, right? So don't forget there was like 2 parts to that. That was one of the parts, but that was not one of the other recommendations, and that's the recommendation that the previous councils and communities been focusing on, is sort of upgrading those culverts as they were identified in that study. So like, we just did the one over by the old Love and Pizza, that was one that was identified as a struggle area. There was one over here by the church that we're going to be looking at doing, that was also identified as being under regulation size, so being updated. Councillor Wall.
Under the stormwater plan that we have, more than half of the village basically needed to get new ditches and new culverts in the next 20 years. So it would be basically ripping up a lot of front yards over the next 20 years anyway. So if we're already going to be doing that, my idea is if we're going to do it, might as well do it once and not have to do it again.
Okay, but yeah, no, staff she'll check it out and bring it back and kind of let us know what the process could potentially be for adding that in, if that's something that needs to go back out to the community.
Because it's the earthwork part that's the expensive part. So if we're already having to do the earthwork, might as well put a pipe in and bury it and not have to deal with it again.
Yeah, my understanding is connected to the infrastructure we already currently have, that's the most expensive. That's what's gonna cost us the big bucks. But I could potentially be wrong, I'm not a contractor, that's just it's the connecting of the pipe work underground, that's the most expensive issue. But again, I could potentially be wrong. Councillor Rao.
So this is the first time I've seen this document contained within this agenda. So we had previously been working on the official community plan. What's the timeline that's hoped for with taking this draft document and moving it forward? Like, us providing input, us working collaboratively together on this document. What's the timeline expectation here for moving this document forward?
I'm sorry, I'm like super confused because this is not, you built this document.
This is not the first time it's
been. No.
The pieces came together. Basically what I'm getting at is, we've got this document, now it's all congealed together.
Yeah, the document that we all built.
Yes.
Okay, good.
The pieces came together. This is the
I just
first
want to
time
make sure
they
that,
come together.
yeah, okay.
Anyways,
It's the first time on the public agenda.
Okay, that's not my main point. My main point is, what timeline are we looking for here to move this document forward?
Ms. Stokes?
hopefully within the next month and a half.
Okay.
We need this for
We're
our
hoping
zoning.
that
For the
with all
year.
this together, that,
Mm.
because really our contract with Urban has
Coming to,
lapsed
yeah.
for this, so
Okay.
minor changes are okay, but major changes will incur more costs.
Councillor Little?
Really quick, just for staff, pages 6 and pages 8 of the plan also need to be updated potentially with the amendment that Councillor Rowe asked for.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, and we were just receiving this for discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to do it, all those in favor?
Yes, please.
All those in, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay, all those in favor? I'm like trigger sensitive, unanimous.
I keep it low, but I've got a...
And you're like afraid. Just one thing. Okay, 6.4 recommendation.
Recommend the council receives the legacy paving project for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Little, thank you. And discussion. Yeah, so all the info is basically there. Myself, Ms. Stokes, the Pooskapee School, and the director of the art gallery all met, and yeah, we talked about the legacy project that we had planned for last year and some of the hiccups that we're seeing that were caused within the school, making it so the project was unable to be complete. And so now we're sort of rethinking the whole project to make it so it works more seamlessly for everybody. And that's where we came into conversations with the skating rink. And this definitely does work far better for the school, because they don't have to get field trip permissions, they don't have to find supervision, they don't have to get volunteers who have, what is it, the legal criminal record checks, there we go, thank
To
you.
go 2
Yes,
blocks versus
so,
across.
yeah, so this is on school property, making it much easier, and then they would do not just one panel this year, they would do 2, so that the winner from last year can complete the project that she had originally put forward. Councillor Whittle.
So I've read through this and I really like the work that you guys have done reaching out to Duncan and looking at ways to complete this and everything else. The suggestion here was a thin piece of plywood, like a thin piece of 4x8 plywood to go on the rink. Now, was the intent to put that on the inside of the rink or the outside of the rink?
That's exactly.
That
what
was
I
my
thinking.
question because,
Outside.
okay, cool. That was gonna be my
Yeah.
recommendation is, yeah, because inside doesn't really work.
Yeah,
So
nope.
it just didn't define in here.
We're wanting to surround the outside so you can see the arc from the highway.
Okay,
Cool.
cool.
I'm really excited. Councillor Wall?
I wonder if it ever came up in your discussion or ever, to paint the bottom, because I don't know where it was, but at some point I was at an outside skating rink, I had a beautiful mural on the ground.
Ah,
Because it's ice, so you skate on top of it, and it was all really,
that could all be something that eventually, when we run out of boards, then we could just start doing that. That works too. You know what I mean? That could be an idea for when that's complete.
Because
We
right
can
now
look
it's
at doing.
just black asphalt.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
by the time they ice it, you can't see nothing.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and it's not the flattest surface currently. It's a bit dumpy.
A little Zamboni.
I'm not thinking this year or next year, or. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
but
that
eventually future down the.
once it's all covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Rattle?
Wonderful idea. I'm always for public art. The original concept was the billboard over here, and that the village, from my understanding, would support with materials and paints and stuff. Are the same considerations in effect for this project in its change?
Ms. Stokes may let you take that one so I don't speak out of turn.
So basically what the village is going to supply is we're gonna, every year, purchase one 4x8 sheet of 1/8 thick, I guess it is, that's kind of bendable, so it bends around and we're gonna take it to the school where they can paint it at their leisure, and then Public Works will take it and put it up. And as for paint, we are more than welcome to apply to the co-op's grant program. So with the co-op, they don't give you any money, but they have a budget for paint every year that they're allowed to use, and if you get your name in soon enough and you provide them with what you need, they supply us with the paint.
And
So
then,
it'll be minimal cost to us.
Okay.
and then if, the art gallery also said that, they would look into grants and stuff as well by partnering with us, so that would really well. Councillor Whittle?
So the other thing, I'm gonna be that guy.
Oh, why
I know.
this guy?
Well, because the weather's getting nicer, and we tend to have some taggers that like to go around town putting
Oh,
down
yes.
symbols and stuff.
Oh.
So my concern is that these kids put in all this effort into a art project, and then some community members decide to put phallic symbols all over them. I would also recommend that we look into putting a graffiti. I think it's called frog juice, but there's a graffiti sealer that you can put over top of it, so you can actually seal it, that keeps the water and moisture out, which will keep it last longer and stop it from UV fading. But it will also make it easier to remove
Yes.
sprayed on graffiti.
And I think Public Works had talked about putting a glaze or something on top of it, so that exactly is
Over
it.
top of it.
Yes. Councillor Wall?
We could also add a spray paint rock, so if kids are going to spray paint anyways, it's part of our action item.
Oh my gosh.
So that they can, if they're gonna do things like that, that it's not on top of other things and not on private property.
We will, still looking into all the things for that one, but yes. Councillor Rattle?
My final comment with it would be that I appreciate the board, because then they can paint it on the ground or paint it in a more comfortable position versus having to paint vertically, which is very difficult. And then the other thing too is, if ever the need be that we need to move them, we can. The murals are very difficult when they're on the side of a building.
Yeah.
And you're stuck with having to move it somehow. Having it on boards means we can relocate if ever the need be, which I appreciate.
No, exactly. Councillor Whittle?
One last final thing was, and could we also, once the projects are done, before they're mounted, can we get a high quality digital photo of it? And the reason I ask about the high quality digital photo is because over time what'll happen is the boards will fade, that project will fade out. But if, as they go, we take high quality digital photos of it, then that's something we could potentially put into an amalgamation later on as a legacy piece for the village to continue on, and then we've got it, so that our work isn't. part of
Ms.
the
Stokes,
loss.
if we were to include that photo, would you need it within the motion that's, could potentially be put forward to accept the legacy project?
Sorry?
I know, I'm not really speaking English, sorry. If, with what Councillor Woodall just said about making sure that we take a like high gloss photo, so we have that, would you need that built into any motion that's being made to accept the legacy project and move forward with it?
Sure.
Okay, well then, Councillor Woodall, would you like to make the whole motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Go.
Yeah, because with that, then it gives us the ability to put them online and stuff as well, right?
Oh, do you have a question, Councillor Long?
Can I have one more piece of discussion before you make that motion?
Yes.
So, this was going to be in my report, but I think it might be more applicable in this motion here. Other municipalities have a fund that they put aside to maintain their public art every year. Like for us, we don't have a whole lot, so it might be like $100 a year. But then if it needs to be repainted, there is money set aside already for it to be repainted and maintained.
So it's sort of like a, not really an asset management fund, but kind of like the same idea where it's like a maintenance fund.
Yeah, it's maintenance, so 5 years from now, if it's unfaded or whatever, with Councillor Woodall's pictures of it, we could go back and have it touched up to look.
Ms. McNair, what would that run under? That's an interesting question, I know.
It was something I was gonna bring up later, but I'm thinking, even if we just put $50 aside a year for this legacy project, it would.
Do we already have a reserve for arts and culture within the community? Parks and rec, okay, but not,
That might be, I'd have to look into it.
yeah, okay, sorry for putting you on the spot.
Specific.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Thanks, Google.
specific, yeah.
That's what Siri figured. Okay, yeah, that might be something that, yeah, we can,
I'll make a motion after this motion then.
to look into it?
Yeah.
Would you want a motion on that, or do you wanna look into it and then bring it back if a motion needs to be
I
made?
already wrote it down, just make it part of the motion.
Okay, perfect, you're gonna make it part of the motion. No, you're gonna speak forever, have fun.
Part of the thing with the HD, with the high quality photos, is that if they do get destroyed, we do have the ability to call up a local print shop and they can actually just print off the photo.
Do like a canvas?
and
That would
make
still
it into-
require money to do it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it gives us an option. Alright, so I'm gonna make the motion.
Okay.
So recommendation 6.4, that council receives the legacy painting project report for, and approves it, with the addition of HD photos and graffiti protection for each of the art items, as well as to have staff look into a legacy fund for maintenance of said project.
I mean, just a public art.
Start with this one.
Does that sound good? Okay, can I get a seconder on that motion? Councillor Rabble, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Unanimously carried, thank you guys. Okay.
Great, my report's getting smaller.
6.5 recommendation.
The council receives the report on the old library for discussion, and if council agrees, renews the contract for a 5-year term commencing on April 1st, 2024.
Can I get a seconder? Councillor Woodall, thank you. All right then. Discussion. Councillor Rabble.
Just a quick one, there's this piece about it being for year-to-year contract, but then they want to go to 5-year, just clarification on that, just to simplify it for all parties involved and give consistency is my understanding, most likely.
So up until now, we've done year to year, and I approached the church to see if they would be interested in a longer term, so we don't have to do this year to year, and they are interested in a 5-year. So if council's not agreeable, then they can set it back to year, that's up to you
Yeah,
guys.
it's really whatever you guys think. Councillor Woodall?
Yeah, this is good. The only other question I have is due to the fact that the Gooskoopi food bank is running out of that. Do we have to have a provision within our lease agreement with them for allowing that or dissolving the village of any liability?
That's
with that?
between the church and the food bank.
Okay, I just want to make sure that there is no liability back on us
Yeah.
as the owners of that facility.
Ms. Stokes, hate to put you on the spot. and you can bring this information back if you're not 100% sure, but I think you'll know. So with the work that we're currently doing on the old public library, so that annex building, so in the agreement we have with the church, we're responsible for maintaining it structurally and making sure.
Yes, because they're leasing, like a rental.
So it's like any other rental agreement. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Councilor?
I'm very thankful for the role that this church plays in the community in utilizing this space for public events, that they allow the village to have Old Fashioned Christmas in there, that they allow the food bank to be in there, that they allow youth groups to be in there. I believe that it's an absolute asset to this community and that it supports a lot of civic and social functions within the community that the community needs. I think this is something that should be continued and needs to be continued, and I appreciate that we have such a favorable arrangement with this group, and I wish them continued success in their endeavors.
Okay, wonderful. So it is now up to council's discretion if you would like to put the motion on the floor to make the agreement that's currently a year-to-year to a 5-year. Councilor Wall. He's like, I could give myself as tribute.
I put the motion on the floor that we renew the contract with the
Scooby Community Church.
Scooby Community Church to lease out the old library for $1 a year for 5 years.
Can I get a second on that motion? Councilor Johnston, thank you. Any discussion?
Technicality, you said $1
A year.
A year.
Every year
for 5 years.
For 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, he's right.
Okay.
And if I said it wrong, it's what, 75 cents?
That's fine.
75 cents a year difference. I think I have
Okay.
$5 in my pocket.
Ready?
I'll pay for it. Yeah.
All those in favor? Unanimous and carried, thank you guys. Okay, 6.6 recommendation. What? Yes? Would you?
Sorry.
Do you want to sit here?
We have a contractor waiting to join us, so.
Yeah. 6.6 recommendation? Nobody? Okay.
Recommend that council approves the travel, registration, and accommodations for the mayor to attend the Keeping It Rural Conference to be held in Kelowna, BC from May 21st to the 23rd,
Can I get,
2024.
oh, thank you. Can I get a seconder? Councilor Woodall, thank you. Question?
Well, you're probably gonna answer my question here,
Probably.
but what are the economic benefits to having somebody attend this conference, especially given the constraints that our budgeting has for other conferences this year?
So this was a conference that was brought to my attention through the Northeastern Rural Board. And so this is something that all of the like PRRD and local rural municipalities are doing. So it's very much like the same idea as the NCLJ, where they're trying to bring in those smaller municipalities so we can all like bring our voices forward to the larger government and we can work collectively. And so basically this conference would give me the ability to work with, oh hang on, you're putting me on the bloody well spot and I just looked at this whole thing too. Basically, through the invitation that I received from members of the Peace River Regional District Board, it was explained to me that this is like a newer rural conference that we're part of. It's the, is it called the Keeping It Rural that we pay into it for $50 a year? What's the thing that we paid into?
BC Rural Health.
BC Rural Health, thank you. So it's through that board that we're paying into every year that connects this. So it's all sort of interconnected. So it's something the village is already a member of that nobody's been actually attending. And so it was brought to my attention from the director of Area D. He asked why nobody had been going to these conferences and I had no idea what they were. And then I looked into it further and was like, oh, so this is something that nobody's been going to. We are a part of this group and this is something that is more rural focused rather than larger city focused, where like the UBCM we attend every year because that's like ministers and stuff, where this is more rural focused. This is focusing on rural initiatives, this is focusing on rural communities, and this is bringing more rural information in to stuff that pertains more to what our community is facing and currently going through. Does that answer your question?
Okay.
In a like run around kind of a way. Councilor Rabble?
Oh, so rural communities do face specific constraints in regards to development and attracting business and then services and support, and the more people you have, the easier it is to have all these different services. So I believe in the importance of this information, however, I don't believe in the cost associated with it, as we have not budgeted for it. So, with saying that, is there an alternative means for obtaining this information, like a video conference attendance to this, or simply just absorbing the information through their various newsletters and publications?
So my understanding is there is no virtual option for this conference. It's like literally you just go and attend. Yeah, as for like newsletters and stuff, we've only just sort of started reaching out to them, so I haven't seen what their newsletters are like. Again, it was only brought to our attention that this was sort of something that we were a part of, that we weren't like getting the information for, and it was very much like a, how come nobody ever goes to this thing? And we're doing all these cool rural initiatives, and we're, you know, focusing on rural issues, and nobody from your community is going. So I haven't quite seen what their newsletter is, or if there is one 110%. So yeah, it's still something I've recently learned about it. Councillor Wall?
As much as I think it's important to go and get our voices heard and meet other mayors and councillors and things like that, at the last meeting it was made very clear that only 2 members of council could attend the MCLGA if we all are to go to the UBCM. And that is why I couldn't go, obviously. So how can we rectify that for you to go to this conference and still allow all of us to attend the UBCM this year? Because I know it'll be probably more important than the keeping it rural. I'm not saying that this isn't important.
No, exactly. Yeah, well, I know like the biggest things when looking into this whole rural conference that I thought were interesting for our community were the water stewardship thing, seeing as water is something we're definitely going to be struggling with in the area. That's going to be a large topic that they're going to be talking about down their drought resistance. That's something our community is going to be struggling with along with the rest of the rural area. And then the forestry and emergency preparedness. Now, Ms. Stokes, with the emergency preparedness bit, can we use some of that money from that grant?
Attend a conference,
On emergency preparedness?
it has to do with Indigenous personnel, that one.
I was like, because that's one that I'm really interested in. Councillor Whittle?
Yeah, so again, echoing kind of what Councillor Wall said, like, I know I was the one that pushed it along in the last meeting with limiting who we sent to NCLGA for that reason. My other concern is, and now it's come up 2 council meetings in a row, that it would be something, I guess, for us to consider is we have these conferences that are coming up and they're kind of just coming up ad hoc and we're making a decision on trying a future plan. I think it would be something for us to maybe sit down and do some strategic planning or get some recommendations from staff on key conferences that are coming up throughout the year, and that we sit down kind of with the list. And I know some just pop up out of nowhere at a short notice, but they generally tend to be the same thing year after year. And I think what would be good for us is to sit down and kind of strategically plan what conferences do we want to hit, who do we want to send, or how many people do we want to send to these conferences, so it's not every council meeting going, hey, what about this conference? Hey, oh wait, this conference came up and I want to go, and I know that there's some national conferences I've that you've been interested in, and stuff, but it's been last minute before we've had.
Well, that's what happened with the FCM, right? That's why nobody's going to.
I think it would be beneficial for us as council to sit down with staff or have staff make recommendations to us of what conferences are strategically the best for our community at this point in time. If new conferences come up, so be it, that's a next year problem. But we sit down and look at what conferences are coming up, how many people we want to send, and then that can give staff some more background information to set an appropriate budget for that as well and plan for it. And then we have strategically, we've said this is what we want to know, because Councilor Wall last week made some really good points of why we should have more people at
and the
NCLGA.
Yeah.
And he made good points, unfortunately, due to financial constraints and not knowing what else we have for conferences that we need to be at. It makes it really hard to support that and support sending more people. So I think for better information for us, and I know I'm getting a little off topic here, would be to have a recommendation from staff, a list of conferences each year that we want to attend. attend, or that we strategically is best for our community, then we can at least pay for it, and it cuts down on, 45, 20 minutes of debate on how many people we should send to the conference, because we've already identified that, yes, this is a just strategic, option for us, it's good, and we've budgeted accordingly, where we've at least planned to budget accordingly.
The only thing, adding on to what you were saying, the other thing too that would be really handy for us to look into in making that decision on what conferences are most beneficial for the community, what ones are we currently paying into? Like, we pay into NCLJ, we pay into UBCM, we're paying into the rural conference. Do we pay into FCM?
We're members, but
We're
you don't
members.
pay into the BC rule.
Oh, no, we're not
That's
paying.
for the health.
Oh,
not for this.
yes, no, it's for the BC Health one.
But in regards to travel,
Yes.
every conference has to be approved by council as needed. It is not a policy or a bylaw that you set saying that, okay, UBCM, you can say UBCM, this many people go, or NCLGA, this many people go. I've seen a document, I've got examples of them, but you still have to decide who's going, because not every conference is it everybody that's going. And conferences pop up all the time. It's very hard for us to determine. We have set ones that UBCM sets out every year that we can tell you about. We know about the BC resource, it comes up. There's an Indigenous resource one that comes up. FCM is one that Poos Koopy has not typically attended.
Yeah.
The last council, they only went to one FCM. And that's because there was one issue that they were
Wanting to bring.
Yes. This keeping it rural, that's the first I've ever heard of it, and I've been here for 9 years, so I've never heard of this before. So that was new to me.
Yeah.
And the previous mayor never went to this either.
Was it around then? See, I don't even know. It's like, yeah, I'd never heard of it.
I don't know. So it's very hard for us to determine. We know the set meetings that you need to attend. We know NCLGA and we know UBCM. Staff can suggest that these are, but as far as recommending, that's up to council. Council needs to make the decision. They need to look at the program and they need to decide if this is something that they want to.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is to be able to have that information kind of ahead of time, like the ones that we know about, and be able to sit down, be it strategic planning, or like you said, suggestion, but it doesn't necessarily be a recommendation, but a suggestion of what, because it gives us more ability to plan and think about it, because we only have, I think our budget's about $45,000, right, for these conferences, and Councillor Wall, for all of us, and Councillor Wall, they did make a good point, that there is some conferences where we do get meetings with ministers, where we do have a little more option to get in there, so it would be nice to strategically identify some of those. I know we can't plan for everything, because some stuff's gonna come up, but part of our financial stewardship and guiding the village to stay on budget and, help keep us on track would be to pre-identify some of these things that, we're gonna commit to, and then when we have other ones come up, it's a new conference, or it's a first year of it or something like that that we hadn't planned for, or hadn't thought about, then we can discuss it. But already have a plan in place to say that, hey, for next year, we wanna look at sending 4 people to this one, 4 people to this one, and maybe 1 or 2 people, and it doesn't have to be set in stone. I'm just looking to have somewhat of a strategic plan so that it better guides us and we can make a more informed decision.
It'd be
about what
beneficial
we
for
need to do.
budgeting too.
Because in all honesty, you look at last year, we would have been better off, instead of sending people to the forestry conference, we would have been better off sending all 4 people to UBCM. But we didn't know that at the time, because we didn't know, we've had to sit down strategically to say which ones are the main ones we need to hit. And that's all I'm looking, is to facilitate that conversation to better aid us in making sure that we're utilizing taxpayer money appropriately. And
I can bring something back. I've got examples of other.
That's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a policy or anything set hard and fast, but it would be nice to have somewhat of a
Good idea. Especially going into budget. Councillor Rebel, I appreciate your patience.
So, echoing Councillor Will's point, I believe there's the need for a more strategic approach to how we plan for the conferences we attend. We should prioritize those that are a must, a maybe, and a wishful thinking, right? You could make a full-time job of going to every single conference that exists. There's hundreds, there's thousands, every convention. That's why convention centers exist in every city almost. So anyways, what I'm getting at is we need we do need a more strategic approach than a more ad hoc approach. Currently, they come up, this is a cycle, right? National Resource Forum, NCLGA, UBCM will continue in almost perpetuity going forward. We're aware of those. Those are some very important things to our municipality.
Resource Forum, but yeah.
Maybe on occasion it changes, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that fits with our strategic goal for that year. So I think that there's the need for the conversation at the end of the year for the coming year to appropriately strategize about what we intend to go to. And then as more details come up in regards to the cost of travel, the cost of registration, accommodation, all these pieces, those can come up in the public realm. Of course, this previous discussion will be public realm as well, but basically, you have your strategic planning the year before. It helps inform the budget so that we can help move forward with the year. And then throughout the year, of course, we'll have our discussions, but we will already have an idea of where we are going, right? And how we're approaching it.
Councillor Wall?
So just going back, I agree with Councillor and Councillor Gravel on this, that if we put together some sort of policy and said, maybe we budget for everyone every year to go to the NCLG and UBCM. Maybe we don't use that budget, but it's there just in case.
Yeah.
Right? Because like this year is going to be a big year. However, I do want to explain why I'm going to be voting opposed to this, and it's because I do think that we should all be going to the UBCM this year, and that taking away from the budget will prevent somebody from going to the UBCM. I'm not, it's nothing against anything, it's just, that's what was brought up last meeting.
Yeah.
And I really think going to the UBCM is important this year.
Okay. All right, so, hang on, what was the motion? I gotta flip back.
6.6.
Thank you.
7 page 73.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw the vote on the floor. So all those in favor? All those opposed? Yes. Sounds good.
Does everyone want their opposed noted?
Oh yeah, do you guys want your
Yes.
opposed?
Opposed unanimously.
Yeah, it was like unanimously.
Did you oppose to?
Yeah, they made good points. They talked me into
At least
things.
we're all on the same page.
I wasn't expecting to do that. I wanted to explain myself because I thought I was going to be the one out.
I know, she
I'm sitting waiting for us.
Okay, so 6.7 recommendation that council approves the travel registration and accommodations for the CAO to attend the North Central Local Government Association Conference in Smithers, BC from May 13th to the 16th, 2024. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Whittle. Just to note, this is through the CAO budget. It's a completely different budget than the council's budget. Just so you guys know. It is not the same budget. Councillor Raver.
It's still the same taxpayer dollar.
It is. Yes.
But what I'm meaning with that is, so we've sent two folks who are voting members who can actually vote with these resolutions. What would be the primary purpose of sending our CAO to the NCLGA? What purpose would that provide? What advantage would that provide to the municipality over that of another councillor who could actually vote against or for these resolutions?
So speaking on this one, so this is a conference that is normally budgeted for our CAO to attend. This is something the CAO normally does attend. And if I'm correct, is this the conference that has the CAO meeting within it? Yes. So the yes. So the NCLGA, same as the UBCM, they have a CAO meeting where all the CAOs within these conferences all meet, and then they exchange ideas, they exchange information, they communicate, and that's specifically an evening for the CAOs to learn, really. It's like a whole day thing, yeah, so there's like multiple CAO day workshops for it. This is something that Ms. Stokes has budgeted for within her CAO budget, and as I said, it is something that she does attend. I would like Ms. Stokes to go because she is our CAO, and the information that she has gathered from these conferences in the past has been really beneficial for the community. And so that's why I would like her to attend personally. That's my 2 cents. Anybody else?
Is your hand up? Oh,
That's his thinking thing.
It's my thing.
okay.
Yeah.
I put my hand up, I was waiting for you to start. So,
Yep, I'm gonna go Councillor Wong.
so as the CAO is a non-voting member, and some other small municipalities don't, if we're going to the UBCM, what is the benefit to going to the NCLGA as well? I'm just making the same arguments that were made at the last meeting.
Yeah.
So this seems kind of contrary to the direction that we were going in the last meeting,
Mhm.
and from the previous resolution on cost-saving measures. So I think for myself, I will need a little bit more information if we're trying to save money on this, because we do have 2 voting members going, and that's where the decision-making occurs. And if we're all going to the UBCM at the end of the year,
That's, yeah.
right, it is still, at the end, it might be a different budget line, but it is still tax dollars being spent on conferences, right?
Any other discussion? Councillor Whittle?
So I'd like to pose the same question actually, while I get good on this. What are the benefits to the community strategically by sending the CAO to this conference?
So when it comes to the CAO portion of the day, I'm gonna be honest, I've not looked into it, so I don't quite know what training you have available for the CAO option. I only know what's available for
I
the,
don't know till I get there.
oh,
They
goodness,
don't tell you.
they don't
There's
really,
meetings with the CAO, plus we get to hear what is going on the floor. We
yeah.
have a heads up. We're, typically, we're supposed to follow you guys around.
The resolutions for the NCLG are like posted online and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Oh, Councillor Whittle?
Do we have, because I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Stokes, council, with everything, there is certain conferences and training that are already pre-identified for the CAO to go. Does this fall under that?
So the conferences that I would typically attend are the CAO forum in January. I didn't go to that. There's the corporate officer forum in October, which I'm undecided as of now. And there's just one other conference in the CAO stuff, and that's the Local Government Management Association conference in Kamloops in June.
Councillor Whittle?
So, the conference that you missed in January, that you didn't go to the CAO's conference, or, I believe it was, what was the approximate savings to the village from not attending that?
$2,000.
$2,000, so it's approximately, so it's approximately about the same cost as what this would be.
Councillor Wong?
Keeping in mind though that we are sending the CAO to 2 additional conferences this year as well, at the NESST and the ESS.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The ESS is covered by a grant, I do.
Yeah, that's covered by a grant.
So that's not a budget line
So
item.
there is still the NESST, so there are 3 conferences that the CAO would be attending in May then. Do we have, if she were to attend the NCLGA, would we have anybody here that would be able to cover while she's away?
Yes. CFO. And I'm still working Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
I
Well,
still do my job while I'm there,
Just from distance normally, but yeah.
but if things have to be dealt with here, the CAO, or the CFO is the acting CAO.
Seems like a lot of conferences.
They're all compacted into like a certain time frame. They seem
Yeah.
to do them all from
May,
January to
Yeah.
April,
April,
May.
Okay. Councillor Rowell?
If conferences are happening January to April, we keep missing the boat every year. We need a strategic approach to our conferences.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw the question out so we can move on to 6.8. So, all those in favor of approving the CAO to attend the NCLGA May 13th to the 16th? All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Would you like the opposed noted?
Noted.
Yes, please. I would
Yes,
like to
two.
go to-
There you go, thank you. Passes. Okay. 6.8, I'm like, what am I looking at here, Mr. Lord?
Okay.
Okay, 6.8, so we want to read it, do you want me to read it?
So, 6.8, make the recommendation to present the first draft of the 2024 to 2028 financial plan to council for information and discussion purposes. The plan includes several assumptions which will be explained later in the report.
Hey, seconder? Councillor Ravel, thank you, that was very well done, look at you go. Where'd you read all that from?
purpose.
You read that part.
Oh,
In the
there
top
you go.
line of what somebody else.
Oh my goodness, Mr. McPhail, you're in the mountains according to your background.
I wish I was.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. So you want to give us the old 2-4? Oh, I've lost him.
What did I do?
What?
No, it didn't.
Oh no, oh no, oh no.
Hang
what did I
on, Miss Stokes is touching the remote.
do? Is it HDMI over?
I guess.
Ah, please return.
I meant to touch the volume. Oh no, that's not where we're getting it from. Okay, never mind. Go ahead, Mike, sorry.
Alrighty.
Are you guys gonna, is the, are you guys got the numbers so I can just start going through it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. So, we thought this year what we would, this report is simply for the operating expenditures. And it's just going through the operating expenditures. So so on the revenue side, we've just kept the rates neutral for, in this presentation, just to show you what happens if there's neutral rates. There's a slight increase from the solid waste and general government for sale of services.
Mike, I'm sorry, can I interrupt you? What page are you looking at? So we're all looking at the same page.
Okay, so if you look at my report, look at the revenue of just under $2.3 million.
Schedule
The
A.
first page.
Schedule A, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mine does not have pages.
Okay, sorry guys.
Letter A.
It's a little tough to do this.
Schedule A.
From afar, I know. No, I totally get it. Okay, you can continue on.
So in terms of revenue, we've kept everything flat, basically just for increases that are going to be are there. So the tax rates are neutral rate. There's a slight increase in solid waste just from having the revenue for a full year. In government transfers, we've only included the $335,000 from the Peace River Agreement that we can use for operating. And in investment income, where you're looking, I've just put a budget of a $34,000 increase. It will probably be a little bit more, but I'm always of the, when I do revenues, like to be conservative on it. So all told, I thought I gave a total of the difference, and I stupidly didn't. I usually say what that totals up to. So it's 26.3. It's about an increase of over last year right now of about $61,000. In operating expenditures, the only in this budget has got the increases that either are going to incur, say, from the from inflation, the QP, the union agreement, and the direction to increase the CAO. So if you look at in operating expenditures, it shows an increase of about 211,000 over last year's for operating expenditures, and that's mainly in the increase to the CAO position that was council directed to put in the budget, and also the cost of living increases that were included in the QP agreement. In material and supplies, there's a slight increase in materials and supplies. That's an $18,000 increase in the cost of water from Dawson Creek. A little mea culpa, there will be some increase in the water and sewer sales. I wasn't aware of it when we did it, so that would be in the next one. So there's a small increase in sales in the next budget that we present. It was just too late to put it in by the time. So in contracted property service over last year, there's about a $26,000 increase. That's due to the repairs to the old library with the beams that have to be done and doing a fire hydrant replacement program.
So, Mike,
Yeah.
can we go through this sort of like schedule by schedule, so we're currently talking about Schedule A, so when you're done presenting it, can we, then move to council if they have any questions regarding Schedule A before we move on to B, or does it all need to be presented in one?
Okay, the way I've done it is the differences, the variances are by wages and by the type of operating expense it is. I won't be going through this. The Schedule A that you see is simply that effect on all those operating expenditures. If you look at it, it's about a $238,000 increase. So that's why. So that all adds up to the operating expenditures. I don't have a one that splits all of the program doesn't give me the ability to do that per se on a main. It can do it by department, but it doesn't allow me to do it on the main one. So that's where the problem is. I find that it's a better way to explain it. So the reality is you're looking at about an increase of expenditures of about 211,000 over last year, of which 164,000 is wages, 18,000 because of water increase from Dawson Creek, 26,000 due to repairs and maintenance program. Contracted professional services have gone down about $26,000. But that's offset because we had the OCP last year, which was $110,000. And that's offset by the increases in the official community plan. That's offset by the animal and bylaw services increases and the library and museum. So we've decreased it by about just over 100,000, and you've got about 75,000 or so increases from your animal and bylaw, library and museum. And then in fiscal expense, so these are all the expenses that have changed from last year to make it different this year. Increases in fiscal expense this year, there's an increase of about 29,000 due to the increase of the hiring of an executive search firm. So if I go to Schedule A now, that's the net effect. That's where all those increases are coming from. That will fit in the various departments.
Okay. Are you prepared to take questions from council now, Mr. McPhail?
Sure can. Sorry for that mix-up then.
Yeah, no, definitely. Councillor Ravel?
Thank you for presenting this. So essentially, I'm just curious as to 2023, then to 2024, a lot of numbers increase, and then it kind of drops down to 25, and then 25, 6, 7, 8 naturally increase. And so what's the overall explanation for that? A lot of these lines.
It just hasn't, to be honest, it just hasn't been put into the, we're waiting to see what the increases I was focusing on this year, the overall 5-year plan, because you want to wait to see what you guys want to do for the increases for the next 2 to 5 years for the tax rate increases. The reality, the net effect of these increases is that the amount of money that you can that you're using to balance this budget, if you just kept everything the same, you're looking at accessing the Peace River Agreement revenues of about $372,000 to go towards your operating expenditures, which goes against the agreement that you signed.
Yeah.
So what I was trying to show that when we've increased the expenditures by the $211,000 this year, the reality is that you're reducing your you have to, the only way you're going to be able to balance it is to take it away from the Peace River Agreement, and or in the recommendations I gave that you don't proceed with the CAO hire the way you're forecasting reduce the increase for contracted services for financial services in the library and the museum. And the other thing is that if you decide to, at some point, do your waste removal contract and do it yourselves, there's probably about a savings that we think of about $35,000. So those are the operating expenditures that you can do this year to reduce accessing the PRA agreement. The other option that you've got that I put in the report is that you can increase taxation. Last year, you guys increased taxes by 10%, and that resulted in an increase of revenues of about 50,000. For this year, you probably could increase the, I did do the investment income very low. You could probably increase that by about $30,000-$40,000. I'm a little hesitant in doing that because if you're counting on that year in, year out, you can't. The other thing that we didn't include for revenues in this report is donations. We kept that at 0 for this year. Last year, you guys raised about 40,000 for the July 1st. And the idea on that was you will have the July 1st, or the rationale behind that is you will have the July 1st celebrations. As soon as you schedule it, you're going to have it. And if you conservatively, you're better off saying that it's going to be an expenditure. And if you meet the revenue, if you get a whole bunch of donations, that's great. And you can spend it on other monies. So that's where the point that I'm trying to make in this report is that we made great progress last year to have a good, use the PRA monies for capital purposes. And if we don't do anything with the budget as presented, you're actually accessing the PRA agreement monies a substantial amount more this year if you don't do some changes to it. So that's what I was trying to point out in this report.
Okay, Councillor Rabel.
So to look at 2024's forecast is more significant than looking at the future years, but my hope is that by the 26, 27, 28, we're reaching a more revenue neutral, revenue positive situation. Are we still on track to do so? Is 26, 7, 8 still looking like we will balance the budget?
That wasn't part of the initial, when we came up with this. This was just to show as a neutral rate. If that's the direction you want to give me on that and what tax increases you need to do that, to make it so, that's something that it's easily enough done. But that wasn't a direction that I thought was given, so we didn't put it in.
Sorry, if I may rephrase, what I'm getting at is the projection contained within Schedule A appears to show that revenue over expenses will reach a neutral or positive position in 26, 7, 8. That's assuming a no tax increase. But because you've stated that 24 considers all these different budgetary increases and all the different numbers, does 25, 6, 7, and 8 in this Schedule A still consider the same implications as 24 considered?
No.
Okay.
Because if you look at it, and I'd have to look at it some more because that wasn't the direction. I was just focusing on this year.
Okay.
Because if you look at your general government, it drops down, and that's probably due to consulting contracts and so on. Your other ones aren't increasing that much. So if you want, then that would be a direction that we can certainly do easily enough, and it's a good idea to do that. But I would say the way I would approach that is that you give us direction on doing the budget, what we would need to do to say, get down after 5 years to, say, a $50,000, you know, a certain target for PRA monies used for operating. We were fortunate last year in your operating because you received received a whole bunch more in investment income and also in grants, i.e. your donations and other grants. So you're looking at about, I'm going by memory, which is always dangerous. But there was substantial increase in your operating revenues than we forecasted. And we hit the operating expenditures were just bang on. So we're very fortunate in last year that you could meet after the budget. You weren't accessing, you know, the PRA monies could be used just for capital. But if you go, yeah, go ahead, Danielle.
Sorry, just in your recommendation here with the library and the museum, is that asking to make a budget cut to the library by 21,000 and the museum by 13,000, or is that asking to reduce their budget to 21,000 and 13?
So they've increased. The libraries put in a request, and we put in the budget. It was actually more than that, but we've put in the budget a $21,000 increase from last year's budget. So that was 48,000. We put in 69,000. And the museum again has got another $13,000 increase this year. And good thing that you mentioned that, because if you look at the library's increase in of 21,000 from last year, and yes, we decreased theirs a substantial amount last year, but if you look at it, the 21,000 is like 8% of your property. You say or 4%, excuse me. So if you do a 5% increase in taxes this year, you're only covering the $21,000 increase in the library, for example. So your operating expenditures are really, given that you have such a small tax base, any increase in the operating expenditures, whether it be in contract services or wages, just hits your budget so quick. And what you're trying to do is be more disciplined so you don't spend the Peace River agreement monies into operating, which is easy to do.
Councillor Wall?
I notice here we've spent $344,691.03 on contracted services. Now I understand that a lot of that is required, but is there anywhere in the contracted services you think we could save money? Because that is almost as much as we're paying for our municipal staff. Is what we're
your municipal staff, your wage budget is just over $1 million, so that's not when I talked about the financial services and library services, that's part of your contracted services.
And so is our garbage as well, is my understanding.
And advertising, finance, which I guess would be you. Mm-hmm. Tech, like we spent $64,000 on tech consulting.
That's our computers.
Yeah.
But $64,000 on consulting to service that, like, how many computers do we have?
That's all the computers.
That's all of the computers.
But how many computers do we have? Like that?
That's like our iCompass system and our.
That's more than just that's your iCompass, that's your Maze support, that's your software support. I can't remember your tech support. Trina, can you help me with that? I can't remember what that is.
Yeah.
And like in administration consulting contracts, we have $148,812. Like that's $150,000 we're spending on administration contracts when we have fully functional administration here as well. So what page are you on, James? I guess I'm ahead. I'm on B.
Schedule B.
So if you look in B.
Yep. I'm in B.
So what pay, so you're in,
I'm on the second page of B. But I think a lot of this, like, contracting, because that doesn't include our garbage, it's not in here. That doesn't.
well, yes, it is, it's not, this is just, okay, so this corporate is just for, this is just for basically the village office and other main one. It's split up into various categories. This corporate matches the corporate in your section A. So your contracted services, for example, last year we spent about just under $150,000.
Do we know
and
what that would include?
I'm sorry?
Do we know what that 150,000 we spent on corporate contracting services would have been?
Mostly urban.
That would have been, a lot of that would have been urban for our strat and our OCP and our.
Last year, yes, that was the OCP. That was the OCP, and that was about $110,000 to do that.
Do we
If
know
I
if there was any
remember.
bylaw writing or anything that was contracted urban systems under that contract?
DVP bylaw.
Yeah,
So that includes bylaw
For
contracting?
certain things.
for certain
not
things,
For every
not
bylaw.
for, not for everything, just for like the DVP, the
Development
DPD.
variance permit bylaw.
Yeah,
But we do have staff here that are qualified to do that.
we're also
There's
running,
certain things that we need consultants to do.
yes, there's certain things.
But
that-
James, if I can just interrupt for a sec, James, this year, because we're not spending it, if you look at the 2024, that's down to 20,000.
Yeah.
So there's not a huge amount. That's why I said there was a decrease this year. So, because last year it was an increase because you had to do this, help me here, the OCP and you had to do the strat planning. So if you look at this, the Infotech, that includes from your software support, from your business system to your tech, to all the software licenses you have to pay. Then the legal is 58,000. The audit's 27,000. So, and the 20,000 is for various. I can't remember off the top of my head what exactly is included in that 20,000, but that historically is about where it should be. You need some monies just in case you.
Mike, can I ask a question about the water? Why did the water increase by 18,000? Do we have like a leaky meter or something? Like what's going on? Oh, that's Miss McNair. Hello.
That's Dawson Creek's 2% increase, which ours will offset, which she was talking about at the very beginning, that, he didn't know about our bylaw increase, the 2% every year,
Oh,
to coincide with Dawson's increase.
so there won't be an $18,000.
Well,
There will be,
is,
but we're gonna
there will
make
be
it
the
back.
revenue to offset it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. And then, does this include, so last year when we talked about our 5-year financial plan, we talked about last year we raised taxes 10%. We talked about raising them 10% this year, and then going into raising them 5 the year after, and then 5 after that. So does this include the 10% tax increase?
No, this is all neutral rates because we thought just to show, we didn't put that modeling in or I apologize for the omission on that, but we wanted to show you the impact of, how much you have to raise. If you were going to make a balanced budget and not reduce your expenditures, you're looking at like a 30% increase in taxes.
Oh my God. So a 10% tax increase would give us around 50,000, I think, is what you said later in about that, yeah. Okay. So not much.
Mr. McPhail.
Councilor Wall?
But that does not include the decrease in our administration consulting, right? Or the 40,000 in additional revenue that's not included in Schedule A, right?
It's a separate, your corporate, if you look at your corporate, for example, at the very bottom, your corporate then adds to your main Schedule A. So that matches up to Schedule A.
Oh, okay. But we still have.
So that when you're looking at the corporate and all those, that gives you the detail of what general government is. So that corporate would actually, and it's the way it's named in the system, is general government. So that's C, if you like, and then protective services will match the total in Schedule A there. So from that first sheet, I've given you the detail what makes up that total.
So my understanding of this, Mr. McPhail, is that we need to find a way to cut $372,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. We need to find a way to cut $372,000. That's what I was basically looking for. Doesn't make you feel any better, but it's the elephant in the room.
No,
It includes the
no,
library, and that includes other things that we
Yes.
haven't decided on.
Yes.
And it doesn't include $40,000 in revenue as well.
So the $40,000
40,000.
is not guaranteed.
The
So that,
$40,000 from Canada Day?
That's not
but
guaranteed.
that's not guaranteed, so you cannot include it. That's a donation, so it's sort of like a grant. We have to pretend that that's not going to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Rabble?
Mr. McPhail, just a question of clarification. Is Schedule A a departmental overview of the following schedules with
Yes.
the same assumptions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or not the same assumptions. They build up to that, to the general government, then protective services matches protective services. And that's split up into the wages and to the different categories. But I don't have a report that just has that total. So that's the only way I can do that for you guys. I like to split up split up into what the increase contains, which is wages and the other things that I've mentioned.
So
Your big one is the wages. Your big one is the wages that you can, if you decide not to do a CAO, hire, or if so that's the big increase.
So, Mr. McPhail, I really appreciate you spending the time on this document. I was hoping that we could get it sooner, but I know that there's a lot of work that goes into these things. So we're definitely going to be taking this back and reading it, going through it, getting ready for our meeting next week where we really sit down and delve through these numbers. I just want to make sure for my own clarification while I'm going home and going over this, my main focus is just on the forecasted 2024 numbers, because the 25, 26, 27, and 28 numbers haven't been properly forecasted. Am I correct?
Yeah, fair enough. It's something we should review and stuff, because we were just I was just focusing in on the year, because that will then lead on to the other stuff.
Okay.
And we can, you can lead, because if there is stuff you can do on the, there is stuff you can do on the future years if you're going to decrease staff or decrease whatever. And you do have the choice not to increase the contracted services as well. That's an easy hit. But again, you're not in, you're pretty, you're in pretty small potatoes, but every potato helps.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Wall?
My last question for you, Mr. McPhail, is on Schedule B on the first page there. There's a line that says pay part-time, finance part-time, and it's $125,040. But we've scheduled it, but we haven't, do you know what that line is for? Like we're budgeting $125,000 for finance part-time?
That's going to be all the wages that are the people that are part-time, which say would be the system generated. That would be both, say for example, in last year, what happened is that was generated. So that would be both Trina's time and Pauline's time, say for example. I think it is, constitutes.
That's, very high for,
That's two separate people, but you gotta be careful when you're talking about wage.
well, it's budgeted, but there's nothing in the actual,
Yeah, okay.
Not utilized.
it's not utilized, so I don't know what it's for.
Councillor Ravel?
So, two parts. One's just a comment. There's pay special, council remuneration. It's projected to somewhat increase, but that would be stable as per the bylaw. Anyways, what would it take for us to get projected numbers for 24, 5, 6, 7, 8 onwards, to at least move ourselves to be within side of the PRA and then future balanced budget? What would that look like? What kind of need would be there to actually assemble that?
You mean for tax increases? How do you want?
Well, basically, because you projected 24, so what would it take to project 25, 6, 7, and whatnot, just hypothetically? And so we could see, because our biggest need right now is to be on side with PRA and then also to balance our budget, right? So what would it take? What kind of challenge would that be? What would that take?
Just to review the numbers, it's actually, it's probably very close. Would like to review the numbers just to make sure. Because there's some things about the consulting and contracts. Sometimes we may have left some of the consulting and stuff, and I just have to go through that because I noticed in the 1 year it drops down by 100,000 on general government, so I'd want to take a look at that. The others look pretty close. So it actually, maybe it would be just in general government I'd want to take a look. Because the others look like they're increasing a little bit every year.
Councillor Ravel?
The reason I'm asking such a thing is budgets tend to follow a path of increase. They usually don't drop down and then come back up later. So I'm just wondering how long it will take us to get in a balanced position.
Yeah,
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, depends on the choices we make. I understand.
It just depends on the staffing you make. I mean, really, it's not. This isn't when we do this. This isn't the present council's, if you like, fault. You guys have inherited this position, and you've been told about it. Because what's been happened, as I said last year, is if you look at the contracted services, i.e., for example, the bylaw, just in bylaw, that came, it was never funded through your taxes. It was funded by going through the PRA, and same with staff increases. If you look at your wages, the wages grew as a percentage of your, you bring in, if you include everything that you bring in for taxes, including your property, your water and sewer frontage tax, you bring in 640,000, but your wages are $1 million. Yeah. There's no other municipality in this region that is offside like that, and that's where your problem is. Your tax base is small, your wages are high compared to your tax base, and when we make decisions to increase operating, you either cut other areas, but you really can't cut those other areas, or you raise revenues. That's how simple it is. So it's tough.
I'm under the impression here that we have some deep thinking to do about this budget, and if our staff cost $1 million a year, I don't know, and we're still contracting out a third of that, so a third of our budget that we're spending on getting things done is going outside. Anyways, I'm just thinking about it. I appreciate your time, Mr. McPhail.
Yeah.
Does anybody else on council have any more questions for Mr. McPhail? Councillor Ravel?
Would it be appropriate for us to request a forecast for 25, 6, 7, 8 that includes the projections and considerations taken in for 24 that include the ambition of moving to be on side of the PRA.
What are your thoughts, Mr. McPhail?
What I would say, the direction I would like is that, would you want that through the scenarios? You could do it two ways. And they're probably actually, I'm thinking one way. I can show you what the tax increases would be needed to receive having the PRA agreement, given the current current staffing levels and the wages, for the next 5 years, to show you what increases would be needed.
I would agree.
And I would say that you have to also tell me what you want for staffing levels. I don't have to be here for that, and you can direct us later on. But I'd also say that because of your, say, of your your $2.3 million budget, your wages are, that about $1 million. So that's the big hit. But you can look at contracted services, which is mainly your bylaw services, which I don't think you can get out of because that's what the regional district, as I understand it. You've got your bylaw can be, I'm just thinking of your building inspection is what I was thinking of. Your contracted services to the library and to the tourism, that would be an idea of what, because I think just to know what tight times that we're in, because again, you're actually trying to live to the terms of the agreement, so of the Peace River agreement.
Mr. McPhail, just for some confirmation, or I can't think of the word because I'm getting as tired as you are. Our wage for our staff is pretty well on par with everybody else in the region, and we're running on a skeleton crew 99% of the time. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think that's a fair because your union agreement matches, as I understand, is very close to Dawson Creek's. Your admin staff, again, that's pretty well regional. I don't think that's I certainly don't believe it's out of line at all. It's just it's tough because it's such a small tax base. You're not like Taylor or Tumbler Ridge, which has a huge industrial tax base. You have you've got what, 250 properties.
I think
So
it's 300.
Okay, 300, but that's still, and you don't have you're not like Tumbler, which has 2 mines and wind farms, or Taylor with a refinery and stuff. So you don't have, it's tough. And you do provide, the other, you do provide a lot of services. You provide the snow removal is, you can't get any better service than what you get for the snow removal. You've got a library service. You've got tourist information. Unlike in past years, you do the bylaw enforcement, which was a huge change that was brought in, but it does have a cost. That's 10%, and it's tough to do this because there's other monies that you get in, but that's when you added the bylaw, which is a great idea, and you say it's 50,000, that's 10% of what you raise in your taxes.
Yeah. Councillor Rabble?
So for the sake of this body being as informed as possible, and I don't mean to provide direction or anything, I'm simply just asking, is it logistically possible to alter this report as we had discussed, taking in the obligations and projected increases prior to our budgetary special meeting next week? Is this logistically possible? Or is that too much of a time constraint?
For me, it will be. I'm sorry, guys, because of the, I'm helping out Tumbler Ridge, and I quite, that's, so I'm booked. I'm booked for Tumbler tomorrow, and then Monday, Tuesday, and then I meet you guys on Wednesday. So I just won't have time. It is something afterwards we can certainly take a look at. It's something that won't take that long, but for next week it will be tight. I can get the capital one because I've got most of that report done, or 60% done. I'm going to work on it this weekend, or by Friday actually. So that's where we're at with that.
So can I just make a suggestion? So council, we're going to be taking this away and going through it. What I would like you to do, you may bring your questions back up during the special meeting, but if you could put them in writing in a document and send them off to Ms. Stokes, so that the Mr. McPhail and Ms. McNair mainly have all the answers to the questions that you're going to be asking, so there's not a lot of, I can look into that, or I'll have to get back to that, or I'll try to make that work. I know with this document it was very difficult because we literally got it at 1 p.m. today, so I do understand that. But for our meeting on the 13th, I would really like it if you could put all of your questions into a document and send them off beforehand so the meeting can be more efficient. Just a suggestion from me to you. Councillor Wall.
Last one. If it's going to take Mr. McPhail a little bit more time than after next Wednesday, I really don't want it to be rushed. Should we reschedule our special meeting next Wednesday to maybe Friday or something like that?
We do not have time. Our
No.
budget is like,
You have to do capital.
yeah,
Okay.
We got to do capital is scheduled for next week. So
yeah.
Mike, is it possible to bring those numbers forward on March 20th?
yeah, I think so.
Ms. McPhail, I'm going to be traveling. I'm not going to be in town on the 20th, but I will review the document and send all of my questions in through email, and I will send them to council and staff. If there's a way that they can be answered through my email, I hate to do that to you.
Your questions are for next week, are they not? Not March 20th?
No, right.
I'm asking him to do the forecast for the 20th.
For the 20th. Okay, never mind. Thank you, never mind.
So if you can do the direction to staff about how you want us, give us a target for the PRA monies that you want, if you want to go to zero in 5 years, and do you want us to attain that through revenue increases in revenues, and what would that look like, or cutting expenses some way somehow, or suggestions. So that.
Yeah, okay, just a note to council, I am going to need a motion pretty soon to go past 9 p.m. So just so you guys know, it is now 10 to 9. Councillor Rapp.
So my understanding is there would be kind of 3 projected scenarios. One would be getting on side with the PRA, what that would take, not having the requirement to have the PRA, fulfill us, that we would be to zero with the PRA. And then I think the third would be a balanced budget, but that probably would be the same as scenario 2. But I think there's 2 pieces here. It's getting on side with the PRA, and then the next scenario would be not having to rely on the PRA.
So you said there's 3.
Well, yeah, that's the long-term goal. To going through the report in the capital, and that'll be next week. It's a daunting task. What's in front of them?
Okay.
If you don't get PRA monies.
Like 2.
Councillor Woodall?
So yeah, 2 things. So I think if we're looking at forecasting, I think we should look at forecasting with our current staffing levels, because really, at the end of the day, cutting staffing levels isn't much of an option for us, because our core staff's already, kind of at their limit. So I think, just forecasting with that. And then, the other part was actually a question for staff, that impacts our potential budget. I believe council in 2022 passed a motion for the library to be a top up each year, not the full 100 some odd thousand. So it was a top up, bring them up to X amount, and I can't remember what that amount was that we had set back in 2022. I think it was that we did that.
Yeah.
So if staff could look into that, because that information could potentially impact our budget, and I don't want us to go. No, it was it us or was it back? Because I know we had the discussion with the previous
It was
council
us.
as well.
Yeah, it was us
So
prior to these two.
yeah, so 2022.
No,
Would have been prior to the prior council. Would have been, I think, 2022's budget season.
Yeah.
That we did that. And I just want to make sure that we're on side with that direction, because that could influence some of these numbers.
Okay, poor Mr. McPhail is looking very tired. Oh, poor man, you're working yourself to the bone, yeah.
I'm not, yeah.
All right, well, we will take this.
Well, I am retired, you know.
Yeah.
Retirement, Mike.
We will take this document away, so expect some emails with questions, and then.
And please send as many as you like. And,
Okay.
well, I shouldn't say that, but anyways, please, if you have questions, please, I will answer them. As I say, when you do this, the reality is this has been happening for a long time. You guys are just facing the music and it's tough.
Yeah,
It's tough to see.
this
That's
is
all.
the hard decisions we all knew we were gonna have to face when we got into these seats, so. Sounds wonderful. I'm not gonna keep you for any more of your time, Mr. McPhail, because we're gonna have a lot of questions, so we will put them in email. And I look forward to seeing you in person next week.
And I look forward to it as well.
in person next week?
In person next week.
Good.
Bye.
Easier.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much. I hope I was okay tonight. I'm sorry. I always find this a little disjointed over the video, but thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a
All
wonderful
the
night.
time. And
Thank you.
and you're very lucky in both Trina and Sandy. They're good. They're great.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
What?
Oh. What?
End meeting. No, wait, what meeting are we ending? Well, he's left. He's peaced out. He's gone.
Is that the recording though, or is that the?
No, it's
No.
I think that's just too soon.
Councillor Rowell,
I make the motion to extend the meeting past 9 p.m.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I've never gotten to do it.
I
so.
know, right?
It's my turn.
It's my
It's
turn.
my turn. It's moved around the circle.
All right. Councillor Whittle.
I started in second. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Unanimous and carried, thank you. Look, our gallery's even piecing out. Have a wonderful evening. Okay, all right, we're gonna move on to correspondence, so. Is there anything that anybody wants to lift? Or can we just receive it all for information?
I'm fine with it. There's nothing too interesting in
Okay, I put the motion on the floor that we receive correspondence items 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3 for information. Seconded by Councillor Whittle, discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous and carried, thank you gentlemen, I really appreciate that. Okay, moving on to resolutions. 8.1 recommendation.
Recommend that council considers the resolution put forward by Councillor Wall to be submitted at NCLGA.
Seconded by Councillor Whittle, thank you very much. All right, Councillor Wall. Looks great, I love it. Awesome job.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful job.
It's called Local Consultation for Provincial Impacts to Resource Sector Jobs. The idea behind it is that we have the provincial government right now is imposing things like the Clean BC Act and other things that are really negatively impacting the resource sector. And my idea is without a job, you've got nothing. Like, it's the most important aspect. If we can't fight for employment, what do we sit in these seats for? So anyways, I want to bring this forward to the NCLGA, and maybe the mayor could present it or Councillor Rattle. at the NCLGA, and it reads, local consultation for provincial impacts to resource sector jobs. Whereas the provincial government does not currently have the obligation to meaningfully consult with municipalities and or regional districts regarding provincial policy changes or decisions that impact employment for people that live in those municipalities or regional districts. Recent provincial policy changes or decisions have and will continue to negatively impact resource sector-based employment that disproportionately impacts rural, northern, and remote communities. And whereas rural, northern, and remote communities' local tax bases are dependent on a strong resource sector in order to provide services to those that live there. Therefore, be resolved that the provincial government be compelled to engage in meaningful consultation with municipalities and or regional districts whose people's employment in the resource sector may be negatively impacted by those provincial policy changes. And I've kept it that one instead of the other one because it's the same wording that's in UNDRIP.
Okay,
So it's already something that the provincial government has already signed on to, is they've agreed to that language for First Nations people.
Yeah.
I'm asking for the same seat at the table.
okay. All right, no, this sounds wonderful. Ms. Stokes?
I just wanna make a statement as to why I put that there. That is the way we were instructed and guided to put it in as per the NCLGA guidelines. That NCLGA and UBCM lobby. You will not be publicly presenting this at NCLGA.
No.
Just so you know, that's not how it works.
They lobby on our behalf.
Yes. And I submit this package to NCLGA. This is not something that you, as a council member, are going to walk into NCLGA and say, I want to present this.
No, but somebody up there reads it from
Yes.
each municipality.
Yes.
If it gets on the
It
floor,
gets
yes.
presented
Yeah.
by, it gets presented by,
If it's
Somebody.
accepted by NCLGA, it goes to a board at NCLGA. They make the decision as to whether or not this goes to the floor. And in their guidelines, they recommend that you say that NCLGA and UBCM either lobby or motion or there's a couple other words. I sent the guidelines to you guys, and that is what they're suggesting. But if you want to keep it that way, by all means, it's up to council.
Councillor Gravel?
So essentially, with the proposed change is that essentially there has to be a mechanism for these bodies to then lobby the provincial government instead of just directly compelling the provincial government to
Yes,
enact
because there's stepping stones, right? So you guys are submitting this to NCLGA. NCLGA is then gonna forward it to UBCM. Those two bodies are going to lobby on your behalf to the provincial government for this to be done.
It appears that the only change is who's and NCLGA and UOPC lobby. Those
The only thing I did was add NCLGA and UBCM lobby.
Yeah.
Councillor Wall?
but having a seat at the table and asking for a seat at the table are two different things. Because right now, if they lobby them, the province can just say no. Right? And they
They're gonna
say,
say yes or no either way.
they could say screw your resource jobs and cut the oil field to zero, which is what they want to do in 2030.
It's up to you, it's council's
I
document.
think my only concern is, I don't know if I'd be willing to take the risk to not add in the as per written guidelines that
No,
are
no.
being suggested.
So the bottom one would replace the.
Yeah. I think my only concern is like if we've gone through all this work to get it on there and it looks fantastic, I would hate to not
Can I combine them both?
meet the guideline. Well, they are kind of both
In
combined
the
though.
same statement.
I just read through it. Therefore, be resolved.
Well, that's not, every resolution starts with therefore be resolved.
I know, but then it's like that NCLGA and UBCM lobby, and then it goes the provincial government too. It is the same.
Except lobbying the provincial government and compelling the government is two
We
different.
can't compel the government to do shit.
I'm gonna combine the two, I'll reread it. What do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of this? Therefore be resolved that the NCLGA and UBCM lobby the provincial government to create a policy of meaningful consultation with, I don't know, that doesn't sound great.
No, it doesn't work.
Is the hang up lobby? Is that the
Lobby,
concern?
it's lobby. They have to lobby. That's the whole point of this thing is to lobby. So why am I making a resolution to say lobby when the whole thing is to lobby them?
But they're not technically lobbying them right now for this reason, because this resolution, it has to be put forward for NCLGA and UBCM to lobby for this exact reason. They can't lobby unless they have this to lobby about. They don't just get to lobby off things they feel like lobbying off of. They're lobbying for this reason. I like the word lobby.
Lobby, 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 lobby.
Yeah, right? So that's,
Okay.
it still works. Yes, Councillor Rebel.
So without the stepping stone piece of these bodies lobbying, this might not actually have the teeth to get the job done,
Yes.
is the fear, right?
When it says, if it says lobby, this means nothing. And if it doesn't say lobby.
What if we
saying
got
no.
sneaky and said lobby/compel?
No, because it'd be the NCLGA lobbying the provincial government. But the end goal is to create to have the province create a policy where they need to consult with the municipalities or regional districts that they're screwing over by getting rid of their jobs.
Councillor Woodall?
When does this need to be submitted?
Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this one of those things, because we all support it in concept, we're literally finagling over two words that essentially mean the same thing, that at the end of the day are minuscule in it. So is this something that can be taken back and finalized over email and then by Friday?
Finalized over email.
We don't
The
have,
wording, so we're not sitting here for the next 20 minutes discussing the word lobby?
well, there's only 5 words that you could use. What were they,
Gonna
lobby?
make it through.
I can't, no.
Yeah, but sending it through with the other one, it doesn't make anyone do anything.
Yeah, but you can't make
You can't make anyone do anything
Yeah.
anyway.
Even if they can't compel the government to do anything.
I'm trying to find, it was like 5 words and I can't remember what any of them were.
May I
Lobby
suggest a
is
5-minute recess? Think about this.
Ms. Stokes, were you able to bring up those like 5 words?
Not right this second. I need to go get the file. You wanna hang on a sec?
Do we wish to take a recess?
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute recess while Ms. Stokes when we get that. Ms. McNair, can you make note of the time? So you're keeping lobby, you would like it to say?
Keep all of the whereas the same, and then therefore be resolved that the NCLGA and UBCM lobby the provincial government to create a policy requiring.
Hold on, your government to create?
Yes. So therefore be resolved that the NCLGA and UBCM lobby the provincial government to create a policy requiring meaningful consultation with the municipalities and or regional districts whose people's employment in the resource sector may be negatively impacted by those provincial policy changes.
Can you do me a favor? Can you stand up across the room and give that to Ms. Stokes?
No,
No?
don't cross during a meeting.
What are the words that are added?
Hand it down.
It's okay, I can go listen to it.
Okay, it's all good.
After provincial government 2, I've added create a policy requiring, and then I've gotten rid of engage in, and then it goes meaningful consultation, the rest is the same. Got rid of 2 words and added through 4.
Okay, Councillor Rabble?
So,
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Is there a seconder?
Oh, is there a seconder on the motion for that change? You seconding?
Yeah.
Councillor Rabble seconds. It's on the floor for discussion. Councillor Rabble?
so I appreciate the consideration. So basically, yeah, lobby is the mechanism from this body, but create a policy. Is that the mechanism the provincial government uses to facilitate consultation? Is it policy, is it legislation? That might be another hang-up piece. Fine, you got lobby, and I don't mean to wordsmith all night, but we have to be precise with this.
To create, maybe we create legislation.
I don't know. I honestly, I don't know if they use legislation or policy to further engage, like, and if you get too particular on the language, it falls into the wastebasket of, oh, nope, that technically says this, we don't have to follow it. Ms. Stokes, yes.
Can I read this? So this is the resolution's electronic submission checklist that we have to meet, okay? Does the resolution address a local government provincial issue and clearly identify a lead agency? for whom action should be directed. So that's why we're instructing the
Okay,
NCLGA and UBCM to go after the province, okay? So we've checked that one out. Does the operative clause state a specific action for NCLGA to take? So be it resolved that NCLGA urge endorse petition, so that's what that statement is, okay? Does the submission include endorsement from the sponsoring local government? Do you guys endorse this?
We don't know yet.
Potentially.
Ask in 5 minutes.
Once the resolution done is, okay, does it have a title? That's why I asked you for a title, so we got the title. And optional is to submit a background of information.
It's in the whereases.
Okay, so we've met everything. So it states, if you do not meet the above criteria, you may not be admitted for debate at the annual general meeting. So this is why I'm being very specific in what it is you need to put in here, or else it's just gonna get rejected.
Councillor Whittle?
So, I'm gonna be that guy again. So the way this is worded, and, you know, I support it going forward, but the way that it's worded is, if this does go ahead and it gets lobbied to the provincial government, every single community in the province can claim, as long as they got one person in that community that works in industry,
Yeah.
they have to be involved with this consultation process. So that's, you know, I think part of that responsibility does fall under the Ministry of Energy and
Energy, mines, and
well, it used to be OGC, I can't remember the new
Yeah.
acronym, but the Oil and Gas Commission and the Ministry of Mines, like it would fall under multiple ministries. And I do believe that some of those ministries already do have an obligation to consult with local communities. That's why I believe last weekend last council meeting, we had a presentation from one oil and gas company, because it's part of their requirements to consult with, right? So I know regarding closures, they don't necessarily consult with us when they're looking at closing something. That's purely an economic decision, but it's just, I support it, but it's potentially opening up a bigger can, right, within the province.
that's
And
where
there
the-
is other agencies within organizations within the province that already kind of do have this obligation. So that's just the one caveat that it might be rejected, or it might be shot down because it might be in legislation already that there's other agencies that do already have these responsibilities.
And that's why I'm worried about the word policy. They may already have a policy where before it had said engage in meaningful consultation. That was more broad, where when you're focusing in on something like a policy, if they already have one, they'd be like, oh, I already have one, doesn't mean I'm using it, but I already have one. That's what I'm worried about with the word policy, I'm gonna be honest. That's what I got stuck on. Yes, Councillor Rob.
So I understand the aspiration to have something tangible that you can point to and be like, that piece of legislation is the result of this, versus the amorphous need to consult, which is less tangible, but still meaningful. So the ultimate goal is that this compels the province to consult with communities instead of just ripping away industry and then leaving us barren. But I don't know if we can prescribe the mechanism by which the province does this.
And so you're worried about policy as well, is that what you're trying to say?
I'm wondering if we leave it too broad, it's so amorphous, it's meaningless. If we constrain it so much that we're prescriptive, it will be defeated, right?
Okay.
So where's this happy medium? I think it might be in leaving the provincial government to engage in meaningful consultation. I think it might sit better
Yeah,
like
that's what
that.
I think too. I think if we get too sticky on policy, for the exact reason I just said.
Can I amend my own motion? How does that work?
No, it defeats, it does.
Yeah, we're just gonna defeat it and then it'll die.
Just tell me.
If you would like it defeated.
Just tell me to scrap the motion.
It's on the floor.
I rescind my motion, there you go, rescind your motion, and make another one.
I rescind the motion.
Thank you. Okay, go for it.
Would council prefer the second, therefore as is?
Yes. I think it's more broad. We need that.
Well, what does everybody think before I read it? Third time.
Don't look at me.
Just shake your head, yes, no.
These two are stoic, this is about as much as you're gonna get.
So it's been a 15-minute debate over 3 words, so my brain is.
Councillor Ravel?
I believe the second paragraph, or the highlighted paragraph, suits the needs of what this resolution is trying to accomplish.
Okay, then let's go with that one. I make the motion that we keep it, therefore it be resolved that the NCLGA and UBCM lobby the provincial government to engage in meaningful consultation with the municipalities and or regional districts whose people's employment in the resource sector may be negatively impacted by those provincial policy changes.
Nothing?
Sure.
So you don't have to write down anything, it's the one you wrote.
Thank you.
That was a productive 20 minutes.
Now,
Worth it.
So,
no, do we need to put forward a motion to send this out, or was that already accepted within that motion?
That's accepted in that motion,
Thank you.
because there's not much you guys can do other than vote.
Yeah.
Send it a yea or a nay.
Okay, so discussion on that, Councillor Rebel.
no.
No?
No.
Okay, so then I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? Unanimous and carried, thank you. That's all I was trying to get to, man. All I was trying to get to.
Before we get to the next one, I'd like to make another motion, if that's okay.
Oh, okay, shoot.
I would like that this be sent out to the Peace River Regional District and other municipalities within the PRD, and ask for letters of support on this.
Can I get a seconder on that? Councillor Rebel, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Royal?
So just to kind of state the obvious, if this has to be submitted by Friday, there won't be time for staff to get letters of support for it. So where would those letters of support go?
No, that's what
I send the resolution out by Friday, and I can send a letter asking for support. They've got till NCLGA to provide the
Oh,
letter.
Okay, so
We have to tell
It's just the resolution that needs to be
that's what I was
sent by
thinking.
Friday.
Yeah, because I'm like, that's a pretty tight timeline. There's no more council meetings.
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous and carried, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to CAO report.
Yep, that's it.
Thanks, good stuff. I'm not there anymore.
I've been busy with grants and budget and
Yeah.
that's it.
Grants and budget take up all the time. Okay, there's no action, oh no, there is action items. Anything on the action item list?
So slim.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a new month, that's why.
Yeah.
Councillor Wall?
Could we move up the graffiti painting to like a medium term thing? Because it's been on there for about a year.
It's all low.
Well, that's not really how these work. Like, there is no medium, short, long-term action item, it's just,
You can
Still on
ask for
there.
it to be moved up, but it says time permits.
yeah. It'll stay on there, but.
Because I really think it'll mitigate going into the springtime, graffiti painting on buildings and churches and everything else. I think it's worth a shot if we try to do something before it gets too warm and we've got kids running around with spray paint.
I know, it's just a wicked,
What
It's a-
would you like it to say? Because nobody has a policy on this.
We're reinventing the wheel again.
I mean, the village
Oh,
is
yeah.
not gonna pay for the paint for people to go out and do graffiti.
Well, no, of course not.
But I'm not sure what the policy is that you want it to say.
If you actually, universities, campuses have these. And the city of Nanaimo does, I don't know if maybe it's a bylaw they have, but if we contacted the University of Calgary, I know they have like rocks set up so that if people, and it's really mitigated the amount of graffiti that they've had around the campus.
Universities and, colleges have security. We don't have security to go around and make sure that people are painting. In the right places.
Yeah.
That's what I'm struggling with, is how do we mitigate people from painting in the wrong spaces?
My other concern is that while I understand this is very important, it has a special place in your heart, it's a wicked bad time of year because we're doing budget.
Well, no, he's got a point, it's been on
I
there
know,
for a
it's
year,
been on there
but
for a year.
the thing I struggle with is how do we, if you want the village to produce a policy pertaining to graffiti painting, that's an open invitation to people to come and paint.
On one thing that we
But
tell
how are
them-
you gonna manage them painting on that one thing? Like, how do we manage that? How do we stop people from tagging the church or tagging the building. The other thing I thought of coming up with was maybe a policy for painting the skate park. Because they've got a big open canvas there, they've even got the cement bollards that they could paint.
That would look.
That would even, we don't even have to put a rock, we could do the skate park.
We just have to paint over all the phallic symbols every other
The
week.
well,
It would be putting up a sign basically saying, you can paint whatever you want on here as long as it's
in
not
good taste.
racist and not.
And somebody's gonna paint this sign with a big phallic.
Yeah, you can paint the skate park or whatever.
So I
but-
don't think that's necessarily a policy so much as a sign posted at the skate park that says, you're welcome to paint the skate park, provided it falls within these rules.
Or it will be covered.
Yeah.
Or it will be covered, but I don't think it's a policy you need, Councillor Wall, I think it's a kind of like a rule sheet that we put up at the skate park.
Sure,
Or-
I'm good with that.
Well, this is
Yeah.
why I haven't produced it for you, is because I'm struggling with it, I don't know what to say, like, how do we can't ask the bylaw guy to be out there driving around all day long to make sure that people are painting in the right spot, right?
Councillor Rebel?
My suggestion would be that interested parties, research, just like I did with the alcohol policy. I assembled a variety of research, looked into other policies and existing bylaws and legislation and whatnot, and then compiled it and sent it to mayor and council and the CAO. And I would be willing to also assist in doing that with this graffiti painting policy bylaw, however it implements. Maybe we take examples existing, do some research, and send it to the folks here and start moving forward.
Councillor Wall?
I don't say this often enough, but I agree with Ms. Stokes on this one, that maybe just needs to be a sign.
Yeah, she does make a very good point.
Like, it might just, maybe doesn't need to be
You've
anything.
got a wide open canvas over there,
Oh,
you've
okay.
got this
I
big
didn't
broad
see that.
skate park, plus we have those cement things that are there, so they've got a few surfaces to paint on.
Yeah, you paint on it, protects the concrete longer.
And in the summer, maybe they can paint on the floor of the ice rink.
Yeah, just, it would have to say something like, we do not encourage spray painting outside of this area, right?
Well,
Yeah.
think about
That's
buying
fine,
another can of
But I don't
spray
think it needs to be a policy. I think it needs to be a rules board,
Yeah.
like we've got at the park, no drinking, no this, no that. Rules for spray painting.
Yeah, actually,
I like that idea.
I like
Be
that.
afraid to paint, but
Can
here's your
we
rules.
edit that action item somehow?
Alright, well, hang on, I'm just gonna go point of order, because Councillor Rebel's been kindly waiting and everybody's talking over the phone.
I just wait. Anyways, so what I would say is there's the need for something that this body votes on to enable and restrict this activity within the village, right? So it's totally prohibited right now under probably some bylaw somewhere, right? And so we need to amend that and constrain it, right? So there's going to need to be some action taken by this body to amend some sort of bylaw and then implement some other change to enable and restrict, right? That's what
Yeah.
we're gonna have to do.
So we have to look into see if there's any existing graffiti bylaw, if there is, amend it, and then look at creating what the rules would be, and then putting that within a rule sign.
Sounds like a good starting point.
Yes, sir.
You said the University of Calgary and which other?
UBC does as well, and the city of Nanaimo tried something out for a while, but I don't know if it's still ongoing. University of Calgary has a really good one though, I know it's good.
Councillor Rebel?
And the other thing too is it's frequently repainted blank or something to avoid being like thought police and being like, oh, this is okay and this isn't okay. It's just literally repainted every single day, or people paint over it, right? It's not managed and policed in itself. It exists, and if something crude or offensive is, and unfortunately may be put up, it's simply just constantly rejuvenated every so often.
How much is that gonna cost after a while, though?
People just paint over it, they like, because it's the one spot to paint. So
Mhm.
one kid will put something on there that maybe isn't very good, the next person will come by and go, I don't like that, and paint over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an option too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we've given a great starting spot for Ms. Stokes, so, perfect, thank you very much. Councillor Rebel?
Another comment on OCP, it's got low priority, but we're looking to get that moved along pretty quick, eh? Like it's,
We're at the mercy of urban systems for this one,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just waiting for them.
okay,
Okay, there's no meeting for your remarks.
okay.
The whole thing's not being held up because you're waiting for his remarks, right?
No, they're in now.
Oh,
Councillor Rabel sent us something.
okay. I was about to be like, please don't do that.
I think what Ms. Stokes meant is urban
Yes.
systems is going over.
Over, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, we all live such busy lives, you never know how, like, sometimes things happen. Okay, there are no capital special projects because we're working on the budget. Council calendars. Where are you going now?
So, two things. One, March 21st, I'm gonna cover that, PRD meeting for
Oh, yeah,
Mayor
thank you.
Beach. And just a correction on, for April, is I'm actually gone from the 3rd to the 11th. Says the 8th, but I'm gone till the 11th. And that's it until the next one.
So, this is in my report, but, the Doig Days are happening out at Doig River on May 23rd. I know we're not into May yet, but I really wanna give you guys a heads up. I'm sorry, but I'm just like, lots of notice. You can kill me for it later, it's fine. Doig Days are on May 23rd. Just write them down. I don't think of anything going on.
Now would that be,
I'll talk to you more about it in my report.
well, it comes up though, you know, cause we just had the discussion about sending people to stuff. Is this something that you wanna attend, and is it gonna cost us money?
This is something I'm attending whether you pay for it or not.
So that you're gonna attend and it's not gonna cost us
Read
money.
this in her CAO report, or her
Mayor's
report.
That's all part of that community to community bit, right? So.
Do you have anything to add to the calendars?
Anything else?
Would you have something? In April?
There's plenty of meetings until then, we're good.
All right. Okay, so we're going to reports. Councillor Johnston, what you been up to?
I've actually been quite busy and out of town for a while the last week, so I don't really have much to report.
Great. Councillor Rabel, what you been up to?
So,
Oh my God,
Is this gonna be long?
No, it's only one page.
anyways, quickly. South Peace Health Services Society, February 22nd meeting. There was a really interesting presentation from the Division of Family Practice for the South Peace. They're working towards a new primary care model. We had them, we had some pieces about it in the past, but now they're working to assemble a team. They're attempting to fix the fragmented mental health and addictions treatment model. It's working on referral services for patients without family doctors. Next, it's going to be committee review, submit to the ministry, funding for fall 2024. 4 years to ramp up this division of family practice. North Peace already has a division of family practice, but the model is unique to each region based off of the unique region needs. They're working on a new payment model. Oh, no, sorry. The province apparently has implemented some new payment model that used to give a benefit to doctors who chose to locate in rural communities versus urban communities. And apparently that's been taken away.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so apparently, and this is what the statistics that I received from this presentation, was that we have had 30 doctors resign, or 30 practicing physicians resign because of this and move away. And there's another 6 slated in our region to leave this summer. So we're having 36 that have just left.
Yeah, they're over in Alberta.
So this, just one tweak of a button, one tweak of legislation, we've just lost 36 physicians and healthcare practitioners of some sort in this region alone, when we were already low. So it's pretty distressing, but they're hoping to turn that tide around. They're open to collaboration, reinventing the work-life balance, attracting folks up here. Municipalities can help by attracting physicians and those who practice medicine by maybe enticing them with activity benefits and, passes to various recreation facilities. Thankfully, though, ours are extremely accessible, and they can go to the disc golf, they can go to the baseball diamonds, they can skate in the skate park, they can.
Thinking about us for the museum. Please bring a doctor to Foodscoop.
But anyways, what we're getting at is there are mechanisms we could lean on to attract folks to this region. Anyways, essentially my hope is that we could have them come to council with an update. I do have some contact information. So my question is to council, I have some contact information. I'd like to pass it along to staff. I would hope that these folks can come and present to this body. How would council like to proceed? My motion would be therefore to present contact information to staff in the hopes that the South Peace Division of Family Practice can come to the council and do a delegation.
I guess my question to you regarding that is, how do I word this? How would the village of Pouce Coupe that doesn't technically have our own hospital or family practice benefit them by coming to speak to us? Or would it be better, like I'm gonna hear from them through the PRD board, and I'm pretty sure Dawson Creek will most likely hear from them because of their local hospital. So like, is this something we could do in collaboration with, like, I can bring my report back to you from the PRD, or if Dawson Creek meets with them, I don't know. I know, we don't have our own, we don't have a physician or a hospital, yeah.
And we used to, and one
Yeah.
day we can again, but essentially with that, we did send a letter of support to the MLA for the South Peace Division of Family Practice. So we're a part of this journey. I think it would be an interesting piece to get incremental updates as they approach this. And as one of the members of this, as previously mentioned, the ideal to attract physicians to the region to even live here for the benefits that are in Pouce Coupe that don't exist in Dawson or elsewhere, that they have to travel into the hospital but get the advantages of living out in Pouce Coupe.
Yeah, work in the city, live in the village, that's our tagline.
That's correct.
Did you have a question about that, Councilor?
I did. But basically my question is, it's a comment, is it would be important for me to see them coming here because there's a lot of seniors and like a couple of family doctors have recently resigned. And we do have senior citizens here that are waiting for family doctor.
We do.
And they don't know when it's gonna happen. So having it just in our own video will provide that information
To the community.
to the community.
You're right.
directly.
So to speak to Councillor Wool's point, actually there was a lot of talk about seniors aging in place and the need of people that might not have direct access to these referral services to better equip them. Because we don't have a hospital, because we don't have a physician office located in the village, there's actually a huge physician desert here. And they actually could work to assess the needs here and support the needs here.
And then help bring that need forward. Yeah,
Yes.
no, that makes sense.
I
Good
think
point.
there's a significant there. Anyways, moving to the next.
I'll second your motion.
Oh.
What's the motion?
The therefore thing, he said it, I'm seconding.
To have them come as a delegation
Yeah, to have staff reach out to them to bring them in as a delegation.
is the abridged short version of it.
Notes.
You just kept talking and then I couldn't second it.
Okay, any discussion on the motion from Councillor Rabble? Other than the discussion we already had? No? All those in favor? Unanimous? Yep.
Okay, I'll pass this context along. And I'm not trying to filibuster, I'm actually
No.
trying to give a report.
No, that's good. Keep on going.
All right, so February 26th, Child Care Task Force. They're wanting to have a conversation with Pouce Coupe and Dawson Creek, about child care spaces and working strategically and united together to, have improved, anyways, child care spaces in place. Bam. So, KPAC, School District 50, lots of great updates about new spaces. School District 59 is actually working on attracting students, high school students, to do the ECE dual credit, which is a really interesting opportunity where the school district assists with tuition and whatnot to get more folks in ECE. From my understanding with ECE, you could have every single slot filled, get everyone through and get them certified, and there's still going to be enough people. It's the same with medicine. So I think that's another conversation, but that's more of a connection piece. And then the last piece was, yes, I worked on some recommendations for the revisions to the official community plan draft that was submitted to everyone for their consideration. That I understand has now been passed on to the consultants to implement those revisions. Okay.
Councillor Wall.
Mine's not as long. I'll be meeting, so I've been in conversation with a Mr. Matson regarding public art that he wants to do somewhere here in Pouce Coupe. I don't have all of the information on that at the moment, but I will be meeting with him sometime in the next couple of weeks. We haven't quite set a time yet, and I will keep the mayor in the loop on this once that happens. So there may or may not be a request for delegation coming forward on that. I did have someone from the public ask me if the village was doing anything for Easter for the kids.
No, the thing that used to happen before was not run by the village. It was purely funded by the previous mayor. She paid for that all by herself.
Oh, okay.
So that's what the different ones. That was never.
I don't remember doing that last year, but I will ask.
Yeah, no, that was not that was not funded by the village Poughkeepsie. That was funded by previous mayor McKinney.
Oh, okay.
So
You could let them know that the library will be holding an Easter event, I believe it's next weekend.
Oh, they're doing like an Easter egg hunt or something?
They're doing some Easter things, she was here today talking to us about it.
And that was just today, before I never said anything, because.
Yeah. No worries.
So library's doing Easter egg thing.
Easter something.
Easter something, okay. I did end up going on a little bit of a trip, just to visit family and friends, but while I was down in the Lower Mainland, I did end up going to Legion number 88 Maple Ridge. They have a live band every night. They have darts tournaments, meat draws, 50-50s, all of these things, and I am really, really looking forward to having a conversation with our Legion about how we can try to.
You are becoming quite the Legion enthusiast.
Well, my grandma said we have to go to the Legion, so like, yeah, I'll go to the Legion. I'll speak with people at the Legion, see what's going on. And some of the Legions down there are tax exempt, so when that conversation comes up later on, that's one of the things that I may bring up. I did end up going to Victoria as well on my trip. I did speak with Mike Bernier. Great conversations just about politics in general. I don't really have a whole lot, but there is a couple of things I might bring up in my interesting facts about Poughkeepsie as the meetings go on. And I think that's it. Oh, the museum meeting was, I did not have that the last time. It has been moved to tomorrow. And I will be attending that. So I do not have a museum report for you because it was moved to tomorrow. And the last one is my fun fact. And I got this from Councillor Woodall. This is more fun than the fun fact I had before. And it is that we actually have a part of the Canadian Armed Forces, which are our Rangers, stationed right here in Pouce. I did not know that until about 2 minutes before the meeting.
They meet at the Legion, your favorite.
They meet at the Legion, and I'm the liaison for the Legion. I should know that.
You have a what, sorry?
The Canadian Rangers.
The Canadian Rangers, we have a station for them right here in Poughkeepsie.
That's pretty cool.
I did not know that we have an arm of the armed forces stationed here. I knew we did, but I didn't know we still do.
Sounds good. All right, Councillor Whittle, what you been up to?
Nothing. Nothing to report since the last council meeting, and yeah, that's about all I got.
Okay. So I have been February 22nd. I already emailed this to you. I attended the Peace River Regional District Board meeting. February 4th, I attended a food bank meeting. February 26th, I attended the geohazard workshop that was put on by the Peace River Regional District. We talked about the different sloughing that happens in the area. We talked about the composition of our soils and how sloughing is a big issue, such as landslides and everything as well. We talked about our water and drought problems that we are, experiencing, as well as the expectation of the 500-year floods happening every 2 to 3 years rather than every 500 years, and what that could look like going into the future. It was really interesting. I had planned on taking notes, but it was actually so much information that I was not able to. I did ask the PRD to send me over the workshop. I haven't, the presentation, and I haven't got it yet, but when I get it, I'm going to forward it to all of you because the slides were there was so much information in them. Councillor Whittle?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that presentation is available on the Peace River Regional District's website.
Oh, is
On their
it?
Facebook page, yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Maybe that's why they didn't send it to me,
Yeah, 'cause
they're
I
go on the
watched
website.
part of it.
Oh, okay. Check out the PRD website. The presentation was really cool. There was so much information involved, and
What was this presentation?
so it was the geohazard. It had a big. Well, it wasn't just. It was like geohazard and
Oh, I can't remember.
environmental disaster preparedness. Something. Yeah, check it out. It was really, really cool. On February 27th, I attended a meeting with the school art gallery and the CAO regarding the legacy project, which we talked about tonight, which I'm very excited about. February 28th, I attended the Northeastern Roundtable in Fort St. John. I've never attended one of those before, it was quite interesting. It's made up of like a bunch of different groups, like it's like municipal, local, there was like conservation officers there and the trappers union and indigenous representatives, indigenous governing bodies, the shadow minister for land, water and reconciliation was there, like it was a very interesting group of people. So there was about 77 of us in total, so over 40 were on Zoom, and there was like 47 on Zoom and 28 in the room, so it was very interesting.
Interesting.
I planned on taking notes, but again, it was like so much information that I couldn't keep up with everything. Like it was like they would only get 20-minute sessions, and within that 20 minutes, they would have 10 minutes talking and then a ton of question periods, so it was really hard to keep on top of it. It was really interesting though. I'll totally be more prepared next time because I'll have a better idea of what the layout is.
How often does this happen?
But once every 3 to 6 months, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Would, like, next time this happens, would, like, the rest of us be able to attend, or is it just for mayors?
I don't know. It's the weirdest. Like the trappers union was there. It was very interesting. I don't know. Maybe.
That sounds something like I would like to go.
I know. Yeah. We'll look into it. I don't see why not.
We'll rent the arena.
March 2nd, I was invited to be a judge at the South Peace 4-H Club for their public speaking presentation. So that was really cool. I got to kind of be a special guest there and listen to these cute little kids give their professional speeches, and it was phenomenal. They did a great job. I was there Saturday, so the weather was terrible to drive in, and I had to go out to McLeod School, but other than that, it was great. And then March 5th, I met with the band leader of Doig River to discuss future collaboration and community-to-community meetings. It's something I'm going to be bringing forward in the next few months. We have been invited out to Doig River to do a community-to-community meeting with them, which I will talk more about later. And that's where I was reminded that Doig Days takes place on May 23rd, and they would love to see us out there. So be there or be square.
The 23rd of May.
23rd of May. I'm going to remind you about 10 million times.
I believe something is going on that day.
Hopefully nothing else. So that's me. Yep. Nobody's here for question period because he literally wanted to go home and go to bed. Don't blame him. Rise and report none. Adjournment. Thank you, Secretary. Yep. Councilor Wall.
My pillow's calling me.
My pillow was calling me like an hour now.
Kids here, too. My brother's over there.
Your kids